Warrior Lore. Chapter 3508. The fire bead immediately turned into a crimson wall of fire to protect Qin Xiaoyao. But before the wall of fire formed, hundreds of silver-white spears were thrown over like hundreds of giants. The sound of them breaking through the air was ear-piercing. Qin Xiaoyao was not strong to begin with. He could not even block Tong Zhuoguo's killing immortal crossbow, much less the spears of these Jindan cultivators. Pew-pew. Dozens of spears easily passed through the wall of fire and came close to Qin Xiaoyao. Qin Xiaoyao's face was ashen, but there was no regret in his eyes. Instead, there was a kind of relief. This relief was the relief of being forgiven. While Qin Xiaoyao's gaze was not on the Chongling princess fleeing towards Black Wind Ridge, the princess and even Granny Ji looked at Qin Xiaoyao without the disdain and rejection from before. Oh! At this moment, a very surprised voice suddenly sounded. What's going on? This voice sounded a little ethereal, but it was also loud and clear. The entire Black Wind Ridge could hear it clearly. Following this voice, thousands of tiny threads of lightning suddenly appeared in the air around Qin Xiaoyao. There were not many threads of lightning, and they did not look strong. But where the threads of lightning passed, the thousands of golden spears were immediately shattered. The threads of lightning wrapped around the silver-white fragments. In a blink, the fragments turned back into pure primal energies of the universe. Xiao, Elder Xiao. Qin Xiaoyao was naturally overjoyed at being reborn. He looked around in disbelief, his voice filled with an indescribable hope. Xiao Hua. Qin Qingyu saw his spell easily defeated by the lightning. His expression changed. He was filled with regret and bitterness in his mouth. He really did not understand why his luck was so tragic. What to do? Qin Qingyu's mind spun rapidly. He hurriedly sent out his consciousness towards the source of the voice. But his consciousness was immediately cut off after scanning 100 feet. He could not go very far. Old Master. This is Old Master. Old Master is back. Boy kill. The black bear spirit was the happiest. When he heard Xiao Hua's voice, he immediately shouted. The demons of the Black Wind Ridge had no time to watch Qin Qingyu's despicable performance. They were originally in a state of exhaustion and had gradually slipped into a disadvantageous position. However, when they heard the black bear spirit's roar, it was more effective than any elixir. The weapons in their hands danced in the air, and their momentum was like a rainbow. Kill. The demons of Black Wind Ridge were like this, and the soldiers of Jiang Country were even more excited. In this period of fighting, they had suffered many losses, and were almost unable to resist the birds flying in the sky. Hearing Xiao Hua's voice, they all fought with their lives. Granny Ji and the others were overjoyed. As they protected the Chongling princess, they urged their horses to charge at the demons of Mo Yun Ridge. The most ridiculous thing was still the leopard. Previously, no matter how Yuanya punched and kicked it, it did not dare to fly into the air. At this time, it also let out a long roar and turned into a flying shadow, carrying Yuanya to the beast at the foot of the mountain. However, just as it started to fly, it was punched by Yuanya again. Only then did it turn around and charge at the Chongling princess. At this time, Qin Xiaoyao seemed to think of something and hurriedly shouted, Elder Xiao. The Black Wind Ridge has an ambush from the Copper Pillar State. But his words did not travel far. Boom, boom, boom. Dark clouds covered the Black Wind Ridge, and wild winds blew. Countless bolts of lightning crashed down like a heavenly river. Awoo-awoo. Between the flashes of lightning, the thousands of birds of Mo Yun Ridge that had been arrogant before were struck down by the heavenly lightning. Other than the scattered feathers in the air, there was only the fragrance of roasted birds. Jie, the golden eagle, was shocked. It had seen powerful cultivators and righteous Confucian cultivators, but it had never seen such a powerful move. There were over 1,000 of them. They were killed by this cultivator called Xiao Hua without even showing his face. What cultivation did this Xiao Hua have? Before the golden condor could escape, another wave of the Taoist spell that it had seen before flashed in midair. Then, it saw layers of flames appearing above the heads of the ferocious beasts on Lion Rock. Then, it swooped down. Roar, roar. The ferocious beasts screamed in agony. No one cared about fighting with the Black Wind Ridge demons anymore. They either rolled on the ground to extinguish the flames, or formed demonic clouds under their feet and rushed into the air to escape. Go! Baishur had been moved. With a soft roar, the Yao clouds under his feet moved, and he had already charged dozens of feet. Damn it! The golden eagle cursed in its heart. It seemed to be half a beat slower than Baishur every time. But fortunately, its flying speed was fast enough. With a flap of its wings, it immediately caught up with Baishur. Just as they had fled a few hundred meters away, a thunderous rumble resounded through the sky. A tall and skinny human figure stepped on heavenly lightning and flew over at a speed faster than lightning. His voice that was even louder than thunder rumbled through the Black Wind Ridge. After causing so much trouble to my Black Wind Ridge, you still want to leave? Before the voice died away, the golden eagle and Baishur's eyes blurred. They did not notice anything at all. The two figures had already landed in the sky above Black Wind Ridge. The golden eagle and Baishur looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with shock. This kind of magical power that could teleport them dozens of feet without them noticing had long exceeded their understanding. Almost at the same time, the two of them knelt in the air and shouted, "Master, please spare us." The two so-called Golden Eagle King and Myriad Lion King did not resist at all and just knelt down. The demons of Moyun Ridge and Lion Rock were even worse. They had long been scared witless by the heavenly lightning and the burning of their bodies. Now, they no longer dared to care about their injuries. They all knelt on the ground and shouted, "Master, please spare us." Humph! The black bear spirit snorted and said angrily, "Is Master's name something you can easily call out?" His words were filled with pride and arrogance. In a moment, the thin figure in the sky had already flown to the sky above the Black Wind mountain range. After the lightning dissipated, his true appearance was revealed. Xiaohua's appearance was a few years older, but he looked more mature, and the majesty between his brows was even more prominent. Anyone who looked at him would feel a sense of fear, and a kind of reverence would spontaneously arise. "Master, you have returned." The black bear spirit was carefree and showed off in front of people. He flew to Xiaohua's right hand and bowed proudly. Xiaohua nodded slightly and said, "This old man has returned. Black Bear, you have worked hard." Seeing Xiaohua give him face, the black bear spirit was even happier. He did not dare to rise and said, "This one is unworthy and did not gain face for Master. In the end, I still have to rely on Master's methods." Xiaohua responded and looked away. The people of Jiang country escorted the Chongling princess and flew to Xiaohua's hand. They all bowed respectfully and said, "Welcome Master back to the mountain. You have worked hard. What is going on with Xiaojian?" Xiaohua frowned slightly. His Buddhist consciousness had come too late and did not see the situation. The Chongling princess looked worriedly at Xiaojian, who was still unconscious and covered in blood. She recounted what had happened previously. Sigh. When Xiaohua heard this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. His heart was also filled with lingering fear. If Qin Qingyu really succeeded, not to mention that Jiangguo would no longer exist, even his own face would be lost. Wouldn't everything he said earlier be for naught? Xiaohua's eyes narrowed slightly. He swept a glance at Qin Qingyu and the hundreds of Dao soldiers and disciples around him, and then looked at Qin Xiaoyao. At this time, Qin Xiaoyao flew over with hundreds of disciples and Dao soldiers. Seeing Xiaohua look at him, he hurriedly bowed and said, "Disciple Qin Xiaoyao greets. Master." "Disciple thanks Master for saving my life." Was what Chongling said true? Xiaohua's expression did not change as he asked coolly. Qin Xiaoyao did not dare to speak and hurriedly answered, "What Her Highness the Princess said is true." "Then, how do you think Qin Qingyu should be dealt with?" Xiaohua asked directly. This, Qin Xiaoyao stilled. He was tongue-tied and did not dare to speak. Xiaohua saw Qin Xiaoyao hesitate and immediately moved him to the side. He raised his hand and took out a jade bottle. He gave it to Yuanya and said, "Yuanya, feed this pill medicine to your master." "Yes, master." Yuanya saw Xiao Hua was awe-inspiring and was no longer the Xiao Hua who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him on the streets of Longevity Town. He took the jade bottle and hurriedly answered. After Xiao Jian had fainted, he had been watched over by the female generals of Jiang country. Only now did he dare to give it to Yuanya. Seeing Xiao Jian take the pill medicine, Xiao Hua smiled and pointed. When did Xiao Jian's abilities improve greatly? He can predict the future? First, he stole this seat's invisibility talisman and fire talisman from Lu Yi. Master, this little one knows. The black bear's spirit at the side hurriedly said with a smile, this is not Xiao Jian's ability, but Lu Gu'er's arrangement. Lu Yi? Xiao Hua was startled. He raised his head to look at the mountain ridge, where Lu Yi was already kneeling on the ground, as if he was welcoming him. Master. At this time, Qin Xiaoyao spoke up. You old man, didn't you hear your disciple's voice? Outside the Black Wind Ridge, there is a great formation set up by Confucian cultivators. We are bait, and our lives are as light as grass. How can you take the risk? Heh. Xiao Hua sneered, disdain appearing on the corner of his mouth. He raised his head to look at the sky, where a faint five-colored brilliance was flowing, and said, let me tell you, on this Black Wind Ridge, every person, every demon's life is not light. Even if I know that this is bait, that there is a trap here, I will still come. Thank you, Master. Everyone knelt down, their hearts filled with an indescribable warmth. Besides, it's just a child's play. How can it do anything to me? Xiao Hua laughed again. He raised his hand and everyone stood up. We will only chat here. We will talk after they set up the formation. -12. Chapter 3509. Yes, we will rely on Old Master for everything. Everyone saw Xiao Hua so calm and felt even more confident. Xiao Hua beckoned with his hand. Lu Yi, kneeling on the ground, flew in front of Xiao Hua. Lu Yi did not dare to get up and kowtowed. Disciple Lu Yi greets Old Master. Disciple did not manage the residence well and caused such trouble. Old Master will punish me. Haha, no need to be so careful. Xiao Hua said with a smile. You did well. This seat will give you a surprise later. However, tell this old man, how did you know Qin Qingyu would kidnap the Chongling princess? Lu Yi's face was bashful as he said in a low voice, allow this little one to report this matter to Old Master alone in the future. Oh, good. Xiao Hua smiled and then looked up. He took out a bottle of pills and flew it in front of Lu Yi. Get up. You did well. Today, you did the best. This pill is for you. When you learn the method in the future, you can take it. Lu Yi was so clever. Hearing Xiao Hua say when you learn the method in the future, how could he not know that Xiao Hua had found a method for him to cultivate? Excitement appeared on his face. He carefully took the jade bottle and hid it on his body before bowing again. Qin Xiaoyao, Xiao Hua suddenly asked, do you mind the question this seat asked you just now? Seeing Xiao Hua act so swiftly and decisively, his train of thought also jumping around, Qin Xiaoyao clenched his teeth and knelt down in midair, saying, Master, disciple knows that martial Uncle Qin committed an unpardonable crime, but disciple also committed a serious crime that day. Since Old Master can pardon this disciple, why can't you forgive Qin Shishu? He was just muddle-headed under the attack of the enemy and made the wrong choice. Now that our Dao sect is in decline, one person killed is one less. This disciple asks Old Master to be magnanimous and allow Qin Shishu to redeem himself. Old Master, you cannot. Granny Ji had not known Xiao Hua for long, but she was familiar with Xiao Hua's soft-hearted nature. She hurriedly shouted that Qin Qingyu was the strongest cultivator of Black Wind Ridge at the time. He wanted to kidnap Her Highness the Princess and use her safety to exchange for his life. He even wanted to kill Her Highness the Princess when the enemy could not tolerate it. In addition, he didn't care about fellow disciples at all. As soon as he had time, he immediately attacked his own martial nephew. If it weren't for the return of the Master, fellow Taoist Qin would have already died. How could someone who was worse than a beast be a disciple of the Dao sect? Leaving him alive is a disgrace to the Dao sect and a thorn in the flesh of my Black Wind Ridge. If Master is unable to distinguish between rewards and punishments, I'm afraid it won't be fair in the future. Master, please make a decision. Master. When Qin Qingyu heard this from afar, he hurriedly knelt down in the air and cried out, "Please spare my life, Master. I will follow your orders for the rest of my life, and will never have any other thoughts." Old Master. Granny Ji wanted to say something, but when she saw Xiao Hua frown slightly, the Chongling princess hurriedly scolded, "Granny, just say this. Everything will be decided by Master." But Granny Ji wanted to say something but stopped. She bit her lip and lowered her head. The black bear spirit was next to Lu Yi at this time. He raised his foot and kicked Lu Yi, indicating for Lu Yi to speak. But Lu Yi didn't seem to notice and stood there silently. The other people of Black Wind Ridge knew their status was low and didn't dare to speak. On the mountain ridge, the bear spirits of Black Wind Ridge looked at the spirits on the ground that had been killed by the heavenly lightning and fire. They swallowed and didn't dare to move, waiting for Xiao Hua's decision. "Qin Qingyu, don't think about getting lucky," Xiao Hua said coolly. "You are a disciple of the Dao sect, but you don't deserve to be a human. Since you don't deserve to be a human, what are you living for? Since you are a disciple of the Dao sect, you can kill yourself." Wu. Xiao Hua had just finished speaking when he saw Qin Qingyu's body flashing with an intense golden light. Streams of Zhan Qi were like small snakes coming out from his mouth and nose. Qin Qingyu's body flashed and flew towards the distance. As Qin Qingyu flew, the brilliance around his body became even brighter, just like an extremely sharp flying sword. "Do you want to escape?" Xiao Hua smiled faintly. "Even if you have 10 more gold cores, you can burn them all and turn them into swords. How can you escape from my hands?" While speaking, Xiao Hua waved his right hand, and a huge palm appeared in midair. It was several times faster than Qin Qingyu's, and in a moment, it grabbed Qin Qingyu. No matter how Qin Qingyu struggled, he couldn't break free. "Even if I don't do it, do you think you can escape from the formation of the Confucian cultivators?" Xiao Hua looked at Qin Qingyu and said word by word, "In front of you, there is only a dead end. However, instead of letting the Confucian cultivators kill you, let me send you on your way. I have a merciful heart, but that doesn't mean I won't kill. Because you deserve to die, I don't mind staining my hands with blood." After he finished speaking, the big hand moved slightly. Qin Qingyu struggled with all his strength, as if he was going to explode his gold core. However, under the power of the big hand, his true qi could not flow at all. Under the huge force, blood splattered and Qin Qingyu was crushed to death. Immediately after, Xiao Hua retracted his technique and Qin Qingyu's corpse fell from the sky. Everyone was shocked. Xiao Hua said indifferently, "You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Everyone has their own karma. Don't think too much about others." "Yes, disciple understands." Qin Xiaoyao knew that this was for him and hurriedly bowed. The other Taoist disciples didn't do evil. "Please spare my life, Master." "Well, they are all your disciples. You can decide for yourself." Xiao Hua waved his hand. The hundreds of frightened disciples and Taoist soldiers were overjoyed and hurriedly bowed down to thank him. The internal affairs of the Black Wind Ridge have been dealt with. Xiao Hua raised his head and looked at the sky. The 5-colored brilliance had turned into 5-colored auspicious clouds and was still dancing in the air. There were no signs of it descending. He said, "Since the formation masters haven't finished their work, let's look at other things. Master, spare my life, spare my life." The golden eagle and white lion had been waiting by the side. Hearing Xiao Hua's words, they hurriedly begged for mercy. Xiao Hua smiled and asked, "Strange, you led a group of subordinates to invade my Black Wind Ridge and kill my disciples. Why should I spare you?" "Master," the golden eagle said pitifully, "although we are called Golden Eagle King and Thousand Lion King, we are actually the same as the Black Wind King. We are all pitiful characters. Others don't know how hard we worked, but how can the Black Bear spirit not know? At first, we thought that we were the kings of the Black Cloud Ridge and were very proud of ourselves. But when Master came, so many things happened. Only then did we realize that we were just the pretense of others and were used by others. You can ask the Black Bear spirit." We have coexisted peacefully for so many years. Who bullied him? If we weren't forced by others this time, why would we invade the Black Wind Ridge? Also, the White Lion hurriedly shouted from the side. We surrounded the Black Wind Ridge for so long and didn't attack heavily. In fact, we didn't injure many of the Black Wind Ridge's subordinates. We don't deserve to die. Hearing the words, "don't deserve to die," coming from the mouth of the Thousand Lion King, everyone couldn't help but laugh. This really sounded ridiculous. However, the Black Bear Spirit's eyes darted around. His gaze swept across the Black Wind Ridge. When he saw that most of the beasts of Moyun Ridge and Lion Rock were injured and not many were killed, he immediately understood that Xiao Hua didn't have the intention to eliminate them. Then, he thought about what Xiao Hua said and came up with a plan. He casually took half a step forward and bowed. "Master, this little one has a few words, but I don't know if I should say them." Feel free to speak," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "Master," the Black Bear Spirit pointed at the two demons and said, "This little one is the same as the two demon kings. We both occupy mountains and call ourselves kings. No one understands their hardships better than this little one. We don't have a choice. Actually, I won't hide it from Master. If Master forced this little one to attack Moyun Ridge and Lion Rock, even if this little one didn't want to go, under Master's strict orders, this little one wouldn't dare to disobey." When did this lord do such a thing? Xiao Hua laughed and scolded. Seeing Xiao Hua laugh, the Black Bear Spirit understood even more. He said, "There's no need to say that the two demon kings don't deserve to die. After all, we are all demons and have killed countless people. However, Master, now is the time to use people. The two demon kings are useless, but they have thousands of subordinates. This little one is afraid that I can't take care of all of them. Why don't you spare their lives and help me restrain my subordinates? This way, won't the entire Black Cloud Ridge belong to Master?" Yes, this little one will definitely listen to the Black Wind King's orders and guard the Black Cloud Ridge for Master." Hearing the Black Bear Spirit's words, the Golden Eagle and White Lion understood that he was taking advantage of the situation. However, they didn't dare to disobey. They hurriedly kowtowed and said, "But Master, please spare our lives." Yes, the Black Bear Spirit's words make sense. Xiao Hua nodded to himself. Then, he stretched out his hand and a dark green light flashed between his eyebrows. The Golden Eagle and White Lion felt an indescribable pain in their heads. The two demons couldn't help but roll in the air in pain. Rise, as Xiao Hua raised his hand, two faint shadows appeared between the eyebrows of the two demons. Xiao Hua then grabbed with his hand, and the two shadows instantly shrunk to the size of a mung bean. Immediately after, two pieces of jade floated in the air. Xiao Hua flicked his two hands and rays of light appeared from the jade pieces. They were so bright that it caused everyone to squint their eyes. Puff, puff. Suddenly, the two pieces of jade shined brightly and lit up at the same time. A moment later, the two pieces of jade melted into two balls of liquid. This liquid was no longer just jade. It was mixed with a trace of scarlet. Xiao Hua suddenly raised his head and pointed his finger. The Black Bear Spirit, who was watching the show with narrowed eyes, felt pain between his eyebrows. Before he could cry out in pain, two drops of blood had been flicked by Xiao Hua and landed in the jade liquid. Sizzle. With a series of sounds, the jade liquid glowed with a green light. -12. Chapter 35:10. Go, Xiao Hua lightly reprimanded and raised his hand. Two green bean-sized shadows were thrown into the jade liquid. Then, Xiao Hua sent in a few more spells. Kacha, kacha. Two crisp sounds were heard. The jade liquid condensed into two jade tablets. "Master," the Black Bear Spirit cried bitterly. "It's fine if you think these two deserve to die, but why are you so happy with my blood?" What do you know?" Xiao Hua snorted and waved his hand. "Take this jade tablet." Seeing the two jade pendants in his hands, the Black Bear Spirit raised the jade pendants and looked at the vague shadows of the Golden Eagle and White Lion. He was puzzled and asked curiously, "Master, what am I doing with this?" "These two demons were spared because you begged for mercy. I'll leave their lives to you. If they don't listen, You can crush the jade tablet at any time. Xiao Hua said coldly, "Of course, if anything happens to them, I'll hold you responsible." "There's no need, master." The black bear spirit's expression became even more bitter. He said pitifully, "This thing is so precious. If I accidentally break it, won't I take their lives? You should keep it." Black bear. Xiao Jian, who had already woken up, reminded him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Old master thinks highly of you. You hold the jade pendant and deliberately think that the two demons will have to do whatever you want them to do? Ah, is that so?" The black bear's spirit was overjoyed and hurriedly shouted, "Golden Eagle, roll for me." The golden eagle was no longer in pain. Just now, it was standing in midair. When it heard the black bear spirit's words, it hesitated. But then, the pain came again. The golden eagle's face turned pale. It moved and its body trembled. It gritted its teeth and said, "Black Wind King, you and I are both demon kings. In the future, White Lion and I will help you. If you treat us like this, we'd rather die." "Oh?" The black bear spirit's small eyes turned. Seeing the golden eagle's painful expression, he knew that Xiao Jian was right. He immediately put away the jade tablet and smiled. "Brothers, it's all my fault. I just wanted to see the effects of this jade tablet. I won't try it again in the future. Brothers, as long as you treat master like I do, this jade tablet will be as good as nothing." "Big brother is wrong." Golden Condor looked at White Lion and hurriedly cupped his hands. "Among the three heads of Black Cloud Ridge, the Black Wind King is the leader, I'm third, and White Lion is second. If the three of us work together, we will definitely be able to protect the Black Cloud Ridge." White Lion smiled and also bowed, saying, "Third brother is right. Although Big Brother's cultivation is low now, with Master's help, it won't be long before he becomes our leader." I'm sorry. The black bear spirit's mouth was wide open. The corners of his mouth were all the way to the back of his head. He cupped his fists in return. "Go and pack up. From today onwards, Black Cloud Ridge will belong to you three brothers." Xiao Hua waved his hand. "I can guarantee that as long as all of you are obedient, not to mention Black Cloud Ridge, even the entire hidden immortal continent will become famous." "Yes, we understand." The three demon kings were overjoyed. After hastily bowing, they descended from the clouds and reorganized their subordinates. Xiao Jian had already recovered from his injuries after receiving Xiao Hua's elixir. He walked forward and bowed. "Disciple thanks Master for saving my life." Xiao Hua sized up Xiao Jian. He was actually rather puzzled. Xiao Jian had always been very selfish. Why would he take the risk because of Lu Yi's words? However, after thinking about it, in the entire Black Wind Ridge, other than Xiao Jian, Lu Yi couldn't find a reliable Taoist cultivator who could use invisibility talismans and fire talismans. Fortunately, Xiao Jian didn't let Lu Yi down. Xiao Jian could be considered to have made a great contribution. "You did well, Xiao Jian. I have a whole new level of respect for you." Xiao Hua nodded. "In the future, if you encounter any difficulties in your cultivation, you can come find me. If there are no accidents, getting a golden core or nascent soul cultivator isn't a big deal." Xiao Jian didn't have any excitement on his face. He seemed to believe Xiao Hua's words without any doubt. He bowed and said, "Disciple thanks Master for taking care of me. What's the progress of your plan to restore the Black Cloud Ridge?" Xiao Hua stood in the air and didn't return to his residence. He actually treated the swaying clouds in the air like they were nothing and asked. Xiao Jian looked at the Chongling princess. The two nodded slightly. Xiao Jian spoke again. "Disciple and the others are almost done with their plans. Only Master is left to come back and take charge." "Someone like Qin Qingyu?" Xiao Hua asked with interest. "This is all Disciple's fault," Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly said from the side. "In order to increase the power of Black Wind Ridge, Disciple could only invite Disciple's sect uncle to come and hold the fort. But I didn't expect, none of you are wrong, it's this seat's fault." Xiao Hua nodded. He liked Qin Xiaoyao's responsibility even more. This seat had some important matters and couldn't come back in time. "That's right, go and look for that second imperial tutor. What's his name again? If you find out whether he's dead or alive, I'll go and look for him." If I'm not around in the future, at least there'll be someone to support you. The second imperial preceptor of Jiang country is Li Xiong, Li Zhenren. Qin Shaoyao hurriedly answered. This disciple heard that he was captured by the Copper Pillar country. The Chongling princess explained from the side. To let master know, Li Zhenren listens to the imperial preceptor, but is unfamiliar with the imperial family of Jiang country. This junior doesn't know much about this elder. All right, return to the residence. If you need to discuss, discuss. If you need to act, act. Xiaohua waved his hand. Everyone bowed and saluted. Only Louis was left in the air. He could not fly and waited by Xiaohua's side. Haha, Louis. Xiaohua waved his hand and used a silent spell. He said, now you can speak. How did you know that Qin Qingyu was going to act against the Chongling princess? Did you personally give Xiao Jian's invisibility seal and fire seal to him? Facing Xiaohua, Louis naturally didn't dare to conceal anything. He explained the cause of the matter in detail, causing Xiaohua to be somewhat dumbstruck. It was very simple because Louis could feel what others were thinking. When Qin Qingyu was discussing with everyone in the residence, Louis had sensed his desire for the Chongling princess from Qin Qingyu's heart. But he was not sure and did not dare to expose it. He could only take the chance to leave the residence and call out the black bear spirit. Louis naturally would not tell the black bear spirit the truth. He only said what would happen if Qin Qingyu, the cultivator with the highest cultivation, had no one to restrict him. Of course, the black bear spirit had no other choice. He could only blink his eyes helplessly. However, when Lu Yi took out the invisibility talisman and fire talisman left behind by Xiaohua, the black bear spirit came up with an idea. He was a demon and did not cultivate any Dao techniques. Of course, he could not use them. Louis was not at ease with Xiao Jian. He feared Xiao Jian would take the chance to run. Otherwise, he would have taken out these things long ago. But here, for the safety of the Chongling princess, Lu Yi could only gamble. Coincidentally, Xiao Jian came to find Lu Yi. Lu Yi took the chance to speak of his worries. Xiao Jian did not take it seriously and agreed. After Qin Qingyu landed on the horse of the Jiang soldiers, he activated the invisibility seal under Lu Yi's urging and hid near the Chongling princess. The development of the matter was as Lu Yi had expected. If Xiao Jian had not stopped her, the Chongling princess would have died. Xiaohua listened to Lu Yi and nodded slightly. Yes, this is your talent. You do not need to tell others. This old man will keep the secret for you. Cultivate the Tao art first, and when the time is ripe, I'll pass down another Buddhist sect divine ability to you. It's called the Heart Connection, and I presume it'll bring back your extraordinary talent to the extreme. Many thanks, old master. Louis was overjoyed. And, can you sense what this old man is thinking? Xiaohua suddenly asked. Hee, old master is thinking too much, Louis said with a smile. When this little one saw old master that day, I was seriously injured and could not sense what old master was thinking. When this little one got the River Tide Temple, this little one tried and could only sense that old master was a good person and would not harm this little one and little Yun. But this little one does not know what old master is thinking. Also, to tell old master the truth, this perception is not accurate. Also, sensing danger is more useful than other senses. When this little one was young, this little one relied on this to avoid many dangers. And this old man knows. Xiaohua nodded. He looked at the dark clouds in the sky and sneered. Damn it, this old man has waited for so long. Why is it not set up yet? Relying on this, you dare to fight this old man? If this old man did not want to use you to establish power, you would not have the time to set up the formation. Old master, do not be careless, Louis reminded. The Confucian cultivators did not set up this formation in a day or two. Now that old master has returned, they have not moved. They must be planning to hit with one blow. It is more than one blow. They are going to wipe us all out. Xiaohua sneered. They even want to kill the demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock. In a while, you will pass down this old man's order and let all the demons enter the formation. Lu Yi turned pale with fright. He did not have time to agree and hurriedly shouted. Old master, you must be careful. No matter, This is a good opportunity to cleanse the Black Cloud Ridge with this formation. This will save this old man the trouble. Xiaohua waved his hand and smiled. Oh, by the way, come with this old man. This old man found you a junior brother. You can teach him some language of the hidden immortal continent. Junior brother? Lu Yi beamed with joy. Old master just happens to be lacking a boy. Now, one on the left and one on the right is just right. I still lack a girl. Xiaohua rolled his eyes and said snappily, why don't you find little Yun and make her a jade girl? Lu Yi's brows slightly darkened. However, he smiled and said, if old master is like this little one will thank old master even more. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and flicked Lu Yi's head with his finger. He scolded with a smile, wishful thinking. You should just obediently be a boy. Lu Yi stuck out his tongue, a naughty look on his face. -12. Chapter 35:11. Immediately, Xiaohua flicked his sleeves and brought Lu Yi into the cave like a breeze. Above the clouds, Jiang Yuming and a dozen white-haired old Confucians were standing in midair. In front of them was an oval mirror, which allowed them to clearly see the situation of Xiaohua and the others. Seeing Xiaohua so calm and unhurried, everyone was so angry that they almost vomited blood, especially the few old Confucians. Their hands were trembling. One of them even cried out, Yuming, how can you be so patient? This little bastard clearly knows that the great formation has been completed, yet he still arrogantly handles the affairs here. This is clearly a provocation. Quickly, activate the great formation. Let's see if our noble Qi will not turn him into mincemeat. Jiang Yuming's face was obviously not good. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, Senior brothers, granduncles, don't be anxious. This Xiaohua's methods are really amazing. Didn't you see? He waved his hand and we couldn't see anything. His magic power is clearly higher than mine. That soul-sucking technique is clearly something a 4th-grade cultivator can do. Moreover, the lightning drawing technique and the lightning escape technique are both things that ordinary Taoist cultivators can't do. If my Jiang clan becomes his enemy, there is absolutely a possibility that both sides will suffer. Now, the Copper Pillar country's monarch has spent a lot of effort to invite 4 great scholars to come and set up the 5 brocade cloud diagram with my Jiang clan. This is clearly a country's strength to resist Xiaohua. My Jiang clan only needs to follow the 5 brocade cloud diagram and activate the noble Qi. That Xiaohua is definitely not the opponent of the cloud diagram. Why should my Jiang clan stand out alone? This is the 5 brocade cloud diagram? Is this the formation passed down by the Immortal Palace? An old scholar was shocked. Monarch, when did you have such a powerful formation? Jiang Yuming's face was filled with pride. He said with a smile, how could this junior dare to deceive granduncles? I didn't say it before because the Copper Pillar country's monarch gave strict orders. He was afraid that the news would leak and Xiaohua wouldn't dare to enter the trap. The Copper Pillar country's monarch actually obtained the Immortal Palace's formation? Another old scholar was shocked and asked the same question. Then, he thought of something and said in a low voice, it seems that the monarch didn't go to war on a whim. With this formation map, what worries do we have in the world? Our Bronze Pillar country will definitely become famous in the hidden Immortal Continent and become the #1 empire in the hidden Immortal Continent. The old scholar from before was very impassioned as he shouted. Jiang Yuming smiled and explained, this is the secret formation of the Immortal Palace. It contains the secrets of the 5 Qis unification. I heard that anyone who can comprehend one of the cloud brocade will be able to ascend. This time, my Jiang clan will participate in the extermination of the Dao sect's remnants. After we succeed, we will obtain 5 chances to comprehend the secret array. Senior brothers and granduncles, please don't slack off. Haha, Yuming, don't worry. You're just a Taoist brat at the 4th level of 1st elemental force. Although you're abnormally arrogant, I'm afraid that you're just putting up a strong front. If you want to give us an empty fort strategy, who wouldn't be able to see through it? An old Confucian scholar laughed and said, the monarch has set up such a large array to scare the monkey by killing the chicken, to let the other countries of the hidden Immortal Continent see the excitement, to let them see the methods and determination of our Bronze Pillar state. You tell me, How can we not join in the fun? We cannot make assumptions about the king's heart. However, senior brother, please don't be careless. Jiang Yuming waved his hand and said, "Two of my Jiang clan's juniors have already fallen in the hands of Xiao Hua. One of them was even killed in front of the Bronze Pillar Academy's dean. According to that dean, this brat is very cunning. His flying technique is even more strange. After he succeeded in his attack, he immediately fled far away, making him unable to chase after him. Just now, senior brother also saw this brat's lightning movement technique. It's really impressive. It's said that Bronze Pillar Academy's 100 Children book array was broken by this brat. In his hands, Taoist spells can turn something rotten into something magical. But it's all because that old thing Northgua was careless. That's why he lost face and said that this brat is so powerful. Some old Confucian scholars were disdainful and said coldly, even if he's a Taoist cultivator at the upper 4th level of elemental force, how can he be a match for you and me? If he's at the 5th level of elemental force, once he enters the Immortal Palace's immortal array, he still wants to escape? Jiang Yuming was helpless. He didn't know how to convince these old Confucian scholars, so he smiled and said, "Let's not care about that. We'll just set up the array according to the previous drill. When the array is activated, we'll see the mystery of the immortal array." Not bad, not bad. Many old Confucian scholars clapped and laughed. Then, they patted their foreheads and dozens of water lights rushed into the sky. In the sea of clouds around them, there was also a clear chanting sound. Countless noble chi rushed into the water vapor. The abundant water vapor turned into a mighty river and rushed into the 5 brocade cloud diagram. On the other side of the sky, there was a similar array. The person in front was wearing a Confucian scholar's robe. His forehead was protruding and his face looked rather simple. In his hand was something like a jade tablet. He was very calmly looking at the depths of the sea of clouds. Next to him stood another person. This person had extremely short hair and a handsome face. It was the Bronze Pillar Academy's judge, Do Shanjun, whom Xiao Hua had previously defeated. At this moment, Do Shanjun's face was still cold. His slightly squinted eyes flashed with a trace of clear light. However, after a moment, Do Shanjun frowned and closed his eyes. After a moment, he opened his eyes and revealed a trace of doubt. He looked at the calm old man in front of him and said, "Lord Academy Head, there's something this student doesn't understand." Feel free to speak. This Academy Head was the Beigo Zhiming that Jiang Yuming had spoken of. Hearing Do Shanjun speak, he looked away and said coolly. Do Shanjun pondered for a moment and said, "In my opinion, before this Xiao Hua flew down to Black Wind Ridge, he might not have been unaware that there was a grand formation waiting for him here. But why did he still charge in without any hesitation? Even if he charged in, he had enough time to save the Chongling princess. In order to lure Xiao Hua into the formation, we did not spread out the 5 brocade cloud diagram earlier." Haha, Shanjun, don't tell me you don't have an answer to such a vulgar question. Beigo Zhiming smiled faintly. Of the many Confucian cultivators who set up the 5 brocade cloud diagram, only you have truly fought with Xiao Hua. How can this old man know something you do not know? Do Shanjun shook his head slightly, a strange expression appearing on his face. He looked at the sea of clouds and sighed. While this student fought with Xiao Hua, but this student still cannot see through him. Based on this student's understanding of him, he may not have entered the formation. Back then, this student was not a match for Xiao Hua, and when the academy head appeared, he immediately fled. This fits the saying that a gentleman does not stand against a dangerous wall. Why did he change his personality today? Also, back then, 100 days ago, he did not even dare to meet the academy head. Why does he dare to face the entire formation now? Unless Xiao Hua's strength has greatly increased in these 100 days. This old man does not have to pay attention. Beigo Zhiming said with a smile, "Is this what you are puzzled about? That's the only possibility." Do Shanjun nodded. But the problem is, while the Taoist sect's abilities are heaven-defying and far from what we Confucian cultivators can compare to, his Taoist sect disciples cannot surpass him so much in such a short time. There is no such thing as possibility or impossibility in this world, Beigo Jinming said coolly. There is only occurrence and non-occurrence. We always thought that the Taoist sect Xiaohua was hiding in the formation of Black Wind Ridge. Who would have thought that he had escaped long ago? Previously, didn't you say that Xiaohua was benevolent and would not abandon the people of Black Wind Ridge and flee? What about now? You and I are not saints. What we expect is far from the unpredictability of the world. Let's take one step at a time. Student understands. Do Shanjun nodded and sighed. It seemed that he had a very good impression of Xiaohua, who had defeated him. He, could it be that a hero cherishes a hero in his heart? Beigo Jinming laughed again. Do Shanjun nodded again. He withdrew his gaze from the sea of clouds and said, although Xiaohua shook my Bronze Pillar Academy and even pushed down the entrance of the academy, when the matter of the old Taoist priest of the Seven Suns Temple came to light, there really aren't many people in the academy who can complain about Xiaohua. There aren't many people who have such courage and righteousness even among us Confucian cultivators. It's a pity that he's too conspicuous. Beigo Jinming snorted coldly from his nose. He's just a lowly disciple of the Tao sect. Yet he actually dared to leave behind a blood tablet in the Seven Suns Temple, and even offended my Bronze Pillar Academy. That's not all. He actually dared to confront the king and save the orphan of the Jiang country. Look at what he did just now. He wanted to subdue the Golden Condor King and the Myriad Lion King, and take down the entire Black Cloud Ridge. What kind of place is the Black Cloud Ridge? The border between the Copper Pillar Country, Jiang country, and Jiasa country. Previously, we might not have known the significance of this Black Cloud Ridge, but now, you should understand that there is a huge elemental stone mine beneath the Black Cloud Ridge. Previously, the three countries had sent out a large number of troops to divide the mine underground. Those three monsters were merely the chess pieces of the three countries. Xiaohua's actions, isn't that the same as courting death? As for the king setting up the immortal array with such fanfare, it was more to take the Black Cloud Ridge into his own hands. Even if it's the Jiasa country, and the other countries should not covet it. Sigh. Student understands. Do Shanjun laughed bitterly. Whether it's the Emperor's technique or the Dragon's technique, student is still unfamiliar with it. It's hard to think so much. Since ancient times, the academy has been a leisurely place. Your character is relatively simple and is not suitable for the palace. Beigo Jinming laughed. Of course, if you are willing to try, after this battle, this old man can recommend you to enter the imperial court as an official. I don't dare. Do Shanjun anxiously waved his hand. This student admits that he does not understand the hearts of people, nor do he know the hearts of officials. If you don't enter the world, how can you come out? Shanjun, you still have to think about it more. Everyone's path is different. Students naturally have their own path, and students still like to walk on their own path. Do Shanjun did not seem to have any intention of letting go. All right, this old man will wait and see. Beigo Jinming smiled and shook his head. It seemed that he thought highly of this Do Shanjun. He twirled his beard and laughed. You are my Bronze Pillar Academy's rare student. At such a young age, you were able to suppress all the other students to become a dean. This old man has deep expectations for you. -12. Chapter 35:12. Just as Beigo Jinming and Do Shanjun were talking, the clouds woven from the five-colored cloud brocade suddenly froze. A layer of five-colored cloud brocade surged from one end of the sky to the other like a tidal wave. Then, the entire five-colored cloud brocade covered the entire Black Cloud Ridge. As the five-colored cloud brocade fell, a loud and clear sound of metal rang out from the clouds. It turned out that the five-colored cloud brocade was instantly covered by a rolling blood-colored brilliance. Lung Chinga's golden spear iron horse has been activated. Let's see if the state teacher of the Bronze Pillar Country can win in one strike. Beigo Jinming raised his eyebrows. A layer of earthen yellow energy appeared in his eyes. His pupils actually diverged, forming two overlapping pupils. Do Shanjun was naturally also concerned. He hurriedly used the clear eyes technique to look below the clouds. Inside the cave, Xiaohua sat with his eyes closed. The black bear spirit and the others were not beside him. Even Xiao Jian and the others were not around. Only Lu Yi, who was on his left, held a horsetail whisk in his hand. He calmly looked to his right. Wang Bianfei was standing there curiously, looking around the cave. Everything was new. Wang Bianfei. Xiaohua sat on the high platform. He suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Yes, master." Wang Bianfei hurriedly retracted his gaze and replied with a bow. "Master will go out for a walk. You and your senior brother look after the door." Xiaohua stood up and said indifferently. Wang Bianfei did not dare to be negligent. He replied, "Yes, master. Disciple understands. Disciple will definitely seize the time to learn from senior brother. Disciple will be able to understand other people's words as soon as possible." Louis at the side could not understand Xiaohua and Wang Bianfei's words. However, he could guess that Xiaohua was really reminding him. Sure enough, Xiaohua said to Louis, "Louis, master, please speak. You have to teach Wang Bianfei how to speak normally." Xiaohua said. "But, master." Louis was in a difficult position. "I don't understand what Wang Bianfei is saying. He also doesn't understand what I'm saying. How can I teach him? I won't worry about this," Xiaohua said with a smile. "I've already taught him the qi refinement technique. If you want to know how to cultivate, you have to get it from him." Louis's eyes lit up. He hurriedly smiled and said, "Yes, master. I understand. In addition, call the demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain into the formation. This old man has already expanded the array formation a little. It's enough for them to use." Xiaohua flew out of the Immortal's cave. As he flew, he said, "All of you must not leave the formation during the battle. The great formation outside the Black Cloud Ridge is no small matter. Other than this old man, no one in the Black Cloud Ridge can resist this formation." "I understand." Lu Yi carefully followed Xiaohua out of the Immortal's cave. Wang Bianfei was also quick-witted, following behind Lu Yi in small steps. Similarly, he was exceptionally well-behaved. Xiaohua walked out of the cavern, only to see that his eyes were filled with the color of blood. Bugle horns resounded from the horizon, and the neighs of war horses resounded simultaneously. The entire Black Cloud Ridge seemed to have turned into a bloody battlefield. "Hee, this is getting interesting." Xiaohua looked around, only to see the thousands of demons and many soldiers in the Black Wind Ridge. Although they had a kind of curiosity on their faces, there was no panic in their eyes at all. It was obvious that they were extremely confident in themselves. Under the Black Wind Ridge, the subordinates of the Golden Eagle and White Lion entered the formation in groups in an orderly manner. There was no panic at all. They were all in good order. After Xiaohua finished watching, auspicious clouds appeared under his feet, and he directly flew into the air. The black bear spirit in the distance very considerately knelt on the ground and shouted, "This little one respectfully sends Master off. I wish Master a triumphant return." The black bear spirit's kneeling was not important, but the Golden Eagle, White Lion, and the other demons all knelt down. "This little one respectfully sends Master off. I wish Master a triumphant return." Their voices were like the sound of mountains drifting in the Black Wind Ridge. It was truly a spectacular sight. Looking at Xiaohua's hand, it seemed like he wanted to summon thunder to boost his might. Unfortunately, the sky was filled with heavy clouds. Where could the lightning be produced? Rumble. Xiaohua sneered. A green light appeared between his eyebrows, as if a deity was groaning. Layers of heavenly thunder immediately resounded above the Black Wind Ridge, like the sound of war drums. Xiaohua flew into the air, coldly looking at the place where the bugle horn came from, only to see that the horizon was crimson like blood. Layers of red clouds surged out, diffusing towards the entire sky. When Xiaohua just stood still, there was no wind. But as the clouds moved, a gentle breeze blew up Xiaohua's clothes. The black wind that just appeared stood straight in the wind, showing a kind of unyielding spirit. Woo! As if the sky changed, a kind of violent wind suddenly rose. Following the violent wind, the sound of the bugle horn became even louder, and then a solemn and stirring chant floated over from the distance. "Grape wine in a luminous cup. If you want to drink, the pipa immediately urges you." lying drunk on the battlefield. Don't laugh. Since ancient times, how many people have returned from a campaign? Golden vulture plume, embroidered with swallowtail arc alone to raise the new order. 1,000 camps cry out together. In the dark forest, the grass is frightened by the wind. The general draws his bow in the night, looking for the white feather in the light. It is not among the stone ridges. Under the black moon, the wild goose flies high. Chanyu escapes in the night. Wanting to drive away the light cavalry, the heavy snow covers the bow and saber. Open the field, the fine banquet. The Chong tribe's congratulations are in full swing. Drunk in golden armor dance. The thunder agitates the mountains and rivers. Adjusting the arrow and calling the hawk. All of them are out of this world. Rushing fox will rush the pheasants, sweeping the ancient hills. 7 leaves of the pavilion, empty and clear in a corner. He is inscribed in the Chilean pavilion, only he is not famous. Along with the sound of the bugle horn that made people's blood boil, many large inscriptions fluttered in the air, and within those scarlet clouds, there was an awe-inspiring aura that came crashing down, condensing in front of these inscriptions. In just a short moment, blood-red warhorses were born. Not only that, the inscriptions flew high into the sky, condensing into a poem. Between each line of the poem, an awe-inspiring aura surged and overflowed, similarly condensing into several zhang-long spears. A chill, a smell of blood emerged from the warhorses that were about to gallop, pouncing towards Xiao Hua amidst the forest of sharp spears. Hee hee, Xiao Hua laughed and said in a long voice, "It is often said that Confucian cultivators do not change their names, nor do they change their surnames. Now, this Xiao has already been standing here for a long time, and not a single person has shown themselves. This kind of shady behavior, what qualifications do you have to dare fight with this Xiao?" Humph. A Taoist remnant, unexpectedly speaking such arrogant words. A voice that was even louder than the sound of the bugle horn came from the blood-red warhorse. As soon as this voice came out, all the clouds rolled back, and then a celestial that seemed to be wearing blood-red armor slowly appeared from the void. This celestial was more than 200 feet tall, with a thin face, a hook-like nose, and a pair of eyes that flashed with a cold light. Looking from a distance, this person was wrapped in a Confucian robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns. Various mountain peaks and great rivers were faintly discernible on the Confucian robe. That dignified and vigorous aura was emitted from the Confucian robe, and outside the Confucian robe was a battle armor that protected his chest and back. The battle armor was like a bayon, with countless flashing inscriptions covering the celestial's chest and back, and a fierce beast head with a sharp horn on its head protecting the celestial's abdomen. Under the blood-red brilliance, countless strange runes flowed out from the battle armor, spreading along the torso to the celestial's limbs. Every time these runes flowed, countless small noble chi would be produced from the void, condensing into a spiral shape and falling on the celestial's skin. Looking at the celestial's hand again, it was holding a long spear. The spear was pitch black, without any luster, and the tip of the spear was without a sharp edge. It looked quite unfortunate. "Umph, who are you?" The corner of Xiao Hua's mouth rose slightly as he looked up at the giant flying over on a red cloud in the distance. "Who are you?" The giant shouted. "Since you're in front of the battle, how dare you not report your name?" With the giant's roar, a murderous aura rushed toward Xiao Hua from all directions. "Ha ha ha. Asking without answering is rude. Speaking with a fierce voice is losing your mind. How can someone as disrespectful as you be a match for this Xiao?" Xiao Hua laughed, his whole body flashing with golden light. With a wave of his hand, the wishful steel staff appeared from the space. His whole body slowly grew, and the wishful steel staff also grew. When it was about 200 feet long, Xiao Hua shouted, shaking the sky. "Dao Sec's Xiao Hua is here. Who dares to fight?" Xiao Hua's aura was like a rainbow, and the pressure of a nascent soul cultivator soared into the sky. Not only did it push back the clouds in the sky, but it also rushed toward the giant like an avalanche. "This old man is the state preceptor of the Bronze Pillar State, Lung Chinga. I've come specially to deal with you, a remnant of the Dao sect." Lung Chinga also let out a loud roar and slapped his forehead. A golden light flashed above his head and a golden spear flew out, forcefully blocking Xiao Hua's oppressive aura. Good. Lung Chinga, let this Xiao see if you are qualified to fight with this Xiao. Xiao Hua didn't say anything else. He waved the wishful steel staff and flew toward Lung Chinga. But before he could fly closer, Lung Chinga's words almost made him faint from anger. Lung Chinga swung his spear and retreated, coldly shouting, "This old man is the teacher of a state. How can I lower myself to fight with you? Let this old man see if you are qualified to fight with this old man." Damn it! Xiao Hua was furious. He abandoned the flying technique and lightning flashed around his body. He wanted to use the Imperial Thunder Guard, but the lightning was annihilated as soon as it appeared. There was no lightning in the Confucian cultivator's array. Seeing Xiao Hua angry, Lung Chinga laughed and chanted, "At night, I lie down and listen to the wind and rain. Iron horses and ice rivers enter my dreams. Generals, kill for this old man." Lung Chinga chanted word by word. Pillars of chi that penetrated the heavens and the earth were born from the 5-brocade cloud diagram and suddenly rushed toward Xiao Hua. Following the command, the thousands of roaring blood-red horses behind Lung Chinga broke free of their reins. At first, they were only the size of an ordinary horse, but when they rushed in front of Xiao Hua, they were dozens of feet long. They didn't seem to be inferior to Xiao Hua's Dharma body. Moreover, the momentum of the thousands of galloping horses cleansed Xiao Hua's nascent soul aura. What was special was that the thousands of galloping horses raised thousands of pillars of qi. These pillars of qi not only rushed to the sky, but also blasted toward the Black Cloud Mountain. The mountain that was originally filled with black clouds was instantly cleared. The pillars of qi hit the mountain peak, causing the mountain rocks to burst, trees to collapse, and the only river to be cut off. -12. Chapter 35:13. Good, good, good. Xiao Hua's eyes flashed fiercely, and the staff in his hand became thicker and bigger. "I will let you know who is the real hero of this world. I will kill all your men. Let's see what else you can rely on to fight me." As he spoke, he waved the wishful steel staff, and the pillar of great spirit that was heading towards Xiao Hua was immediately smashed into pieces. Although Xiao Hua's figure was huge, he was also very flexible. He did not resist the power of the great spirit pillar. Instead, he borrowed the power of the great spirit pillar. His figure flashed, and he kicked the warhorse that was rushing towards him. Pung! There was a loud sound, and the warhorse instantly turned into a red mist and dissipated in midair. Humph! Seeing Xiao Hua so brave, Lung Chinga snorted. "You are just a child of the Tao sect. How can you be the enemy of my country? When you are exhausted, won't your bones become soft and your tendons become numb? How can you be my opponent?" Boom boom. Pillars of Aoran Chi were either half a foot in size or tens of feet in size. They all fell from the clouds in the sky, carrying an unconcealable heroic momentum. They wanted to kill Xiao Hua, but Xiao Hua held the wishful steel staff in his hand and moved through the pillars of Aoran Chi with ease. The pillars of Aoran Chi turned the entire Black Cloud Ridge red, but Xiao Hua was still unharmed. The blood-red warhorse was indeed as strong as an iron horse, but in front of Xiao Hua, who was like a god, it was really fragile. Not only did the iron horse collapse under the punches and kicks, but when Xiao Hua's wishful staff touched it, the iron horse also turned invisible. It seemed that Xiao Hua was the nemesis of these iron horses. Breaking into the array was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, invincible. Ha ha ha. Beigo Zhenming, who was high up in the clouds, laughed. He pointed at the tens of thousands of horses and said to Do Shanjun, "Shanjun, as you can see, the militarists have always relied on the power of the army. When they saw that a little cultivator from Dao sect had good martial arts, they had no way to deal with him. It is really a disgrace to the face of the Confucian cultivators." Do Shanjun knew that the dean of his academy and the imperial preceptor were not on good terms, so he just smiled and did not say much. Suddenly, Do Shanjun's expression changed slightly. He said in a low voice, "Lord Chief, the imperial tutor seems to be using the golden dagger axe." Moreover, it seems like the immortal slaying crossbow and the god-slaying bow are hidden in this golden dagger axe. How insidious! There's falsehood in reality and falsehood in falsehood. This is called trickery, and it's the way of the military. Beigo Jinming sneered. Didn't he rely on this to become the state preceptor? Sure enough, as soon as Beigo Jinming's words fell, thousands of golden spears emerged from the clouds in all directions, like a swarm of locusts flying towards Xiao Hua. So noisy. Xiao Hua shouted, "Don't you have any real methods? Just these little tricks to scratch this Xiao's itch. What does that count as?" As he spoke, Xiao Hua didn't seem to care about these golden spears. He strode forward like a wolf in a flock of sheep and continued to chase after Long Qingge. It can't be? Dou Shanjun was dumbfounded. He raised his hand and said, This Xiao Hua actually didn't block the golden dagger axe arrow array?" Beigo Jinming also frowned and said in a low voice, "Daoist cultivators have a protective golden light. This Xiao Hua's cultivation is at the 4th level of origin energy. I'm afraid he can block the golden dagger axe arrow array?" But the immortal slaying crossbow and the god-slaying bow are precisely used to strangle the Daoist golden dagger axe arrow array. Dou Shanjun was puzzled. Beigo Jinming looked up and down at Dou Shanjun and said with a smile, "Shanjun, you know these secrets, but Xiao Hua doesn't." Dou Shanjun shook his head slightly. The interest in his eyes was even stronger. He felt that Xiao Hua was definitely not as simple as the chief said. Sure enough, pa, like rain hitting banana leaves, hundreds of golden dagger axes densely hit Xiao Hua's golden body. The other thousands of golden dagger axes brushed past Xiao Hua's golden body and pierced into the black cloud ridge. Rumble. Bursts of intense sounds came from the mountain ridge. The mountain ridge that was trampled beyond recognition by the iron horse array was now ravaged again. The mountain peak collapsed, the mountain rocks were shattered, and smoke and dust flew in all directions. One could see the power of these golden dagger axes. However, these golden dagger axes that pierced Xiao Hua's golden body were barely satisfactory. These golden dagger axes were really like raindrops. They only made Xiao Hua's golden body tremble slightly and then slid down from the golden body. They were basically unable to pose any threat to Xiao Hua's golden body. Pa. Under Xiao Hua's disregard, another wave of golden dagger axes fell down. This time, Xiao Hua slightly raised his eyebrows as if he was aware of the abnormality. However, he still ignored it and allowed the golden dagger axes mixed with the execution crossbow and the god-slaying bow to land on his body. Needless to say, the golden dagger axes were still useless. However, the execution crossbow and the god-slaying bow were different. When the crossbow pierced Xiao Hua's golden body, thousands of inscriptions swarmed out and flashed with an intense light. They quickly tore apart the golden light of the golden body. A whirlwind that was sharper than a sharp awl emerged from the void and pierced Xiao Hua's golden body. Especially, the inscriptions on the god-slaying bow covered the golden body and annihilated the golden light. The incomparably sharp crossbow pierced deeply into Xiao Hua's body. Unfortunately, no matter how sharp these execution crossbows and god-slaying bows were, they were still mortal weapons. How could they pierce Xiao Hua's demon body that he spent countless efforts to refine? Hundreds of crossbows fell from Xiao Hua's golden body one after another, like the helpless thoughts of the soldiers of the Bronze Pillar country. Long Qingge watched from afar with an extremely ugly expression. He really didn't expect Xiao Hua to be so vigorous. Moreover, he was also a rare body cultivator in the Dao sect. Wasn't this kind of person with a copper head and iron arms the nemesis of his golden spears and iron horses? The defensive formation that he painstakingly laid down now seemed to have become the reason for Xiao Hua's fame. This old man wants to see how you will break through the siege of the golden spears and iron horses. However, Long Qingge was also anxious. Inside the 5-brocade cloud diagram, the righteous chi was extremely abundant. Whether it was the golden dagger axes or the god-slaying bow, they were almost endless. Even if the execution crossbows and god-slaying bows were gone, just these alone could exhaust Xiao Hua's strength. Who knew that in the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Xiao Hua raised his head and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, old man Long. So you only have so many tricks up your sleeve. Since you don't have anything new, then I will let you see this Xiao's tricks. As he spoke, Xiao Hua opened his mouth and the seal of the overturning sea flew out. Wang Wang. The entire five-brocade cloud diagram didn't have any heaven and earth spiritual qi, but with a wave of Xiao Hua's hand, the seal of the overturning sea emitted an intense rumbling sound. In an instant, it expanded to more than 10 zhong. This Xiao Hua is too powerful. In the distance, Jiang Yuming's heart was also shocked. He whispered, "Until now, Lung Chinga has no more tricks up his sleeves." Only then did he take out the Dao sect's magical weapon. What he used to defeat Lung Chinga was only the Dao sect's insignificant Dao. Boom! Just as Jiang Yuming expected, when Xiao Hua's seal of the overturning sea appeared, the coiling dragon roared and rushed into the sky. Xiao Hua pointed his hand again, and the seal instantly expanded to several mu in size. As the coiling dragon swooped down, it immediately smashed the 10,000 horses into powder. Old man Long, your golden spear is only... Xiao Hua sneered, "If you don't make a move, I will beat your disciples and grand-disciples into minced meat. Looks like you really do have some tricks up your sleeve. Come, come, come. This old man will fight you for 800 rounds. After being bullied by Xiao Hua to this extent, Long Chinga could no longer retreat. He waved the Damascus steel spear in his hand, and a series of sonic booms rang out, bringing with it numerous pillars of boundless qi that pierced towards Xiao Hua. Why would Xiao Hua be afraid of him? He waved the wishful steel staff and said excitedly, "Why would I need 800 rounds? If you can last 500 rounds in front of this Xiao will throw away his staff and fight to the death with you." When Long Chinga heard this, his nose almost went crooked from anger. What kind of bet was throwing away his staff and fighting to the death? Even if you don't have your staff, don't you still have your magical weapon? But before Long Chinga could say anything, the suffocating wind from the staff was already coming at his head. He couldn't afford to hesitate. Xiao Hua really overestimated Long Chinga. Although Long Chinga was a great general of the military school and could be considered a peak cultivator of the 4th level of origin energy, how could his strength be compared to Xiao Hua's? Moreover, the moves and boundless qi that Long Chinga relied on were nothing in front of Xiao Hua. Although Xiao Hua had concealed his cultivation base to the nascent soul stage in order to not attract the special attention of the scholarly cultivators, after 100 rounds, Long Chinga no longer dared to use his Damascus steel spear against Xiao Hua's wishful steel staff. After another 10 or so exchanges, Long Chinga was already stretched thin. Although Xiao Hua did not use any kind of confinement technique, Long Chinga felt that his hands and feet were bound, and it was difficult for him to display even 50% of his martial skills. Long Chinga was a little anxious in his heart. Thinking back to what he said before, Xiao Hua really did rely on his own strength to resist the power of the bronze pillar state. If he continued to fight with him, he might really fall here. Thinking of this, Long Chinga didn't hesitate to clap his hands. Boom! Golden light flashed above Long Chinga's head, and the golden dagger axe that he had previously stored in his body rushed out again. A golden light suddenly appeared, and thousands of boundless qi followed the golden light and blasted towards Xiao Hua. Moreover, where the golden dagger axe was, there was a piercing sharpness that seemed to be able to pierce through the sky and directly into Xiao Hua's body. Ha ha ha! Xiao Hua was overjoyed. Seeing the blood-red color around Long Chinga's body gradually disappear, and the bronze light around him flourished, how could he not know that Long Chinga was about to use some kind of sword technique? Xiao Hua laughed and clapped his hands. He simply gave up on the power of the flying sword and stretched out his nascent soul hand. He didn't digest it into a hand that was several mu in size, but only a few hundred feet in size. It firmly trapped the golden dagger axe. No matter how red Long Chinga's face was, he couldn't move the golden dagger axe forward even half an inch. Just as Long Chinga was about to be defeated by Xiao Hua, a layer of blue cloud brocade fell from the sky like a rainbow, falling right in front of Xiao Hua's nascent soul hand. From the brocade, thousands of wind, fire, and mountains rushed out to block Xiao Hua's path. -12. Chapter 35:14. Puff. The Yuanying's hand fell, and thousands of wind and fire mountains were crushed, turning into countless inscriptions dancing in the air. At the same time, the cloud brocade was also pulled down, turning into a mighty chi. Lung Chinga took advantage of this gap and hurriedly put away the golden dagger axe, turned around, and disappeared into the clouds. Hee. It turns out to be a battle of attrition. Xiao Hua put away the Yuanying's hand and coldly looked at the cyan cloud brocade rapidly emerging from the sky. Like the previous crimson cloud, it covered the entire sky. He sneered. This Xiao thought that the Confucian cultivators were trustworthy people. Only Long Chinga and this Xiao would fight, and no one else would intervene. Since the Confucian cultivators are so shameless, forget it. Tell me your name. This one is Jiang Yuming. Jiang Yuming did not have a golden body of 20 feet. He appeared in the sky and faintly replied, "The Jiang family of the Bronze Pillar Country? This is really interesting." Xiao Hua smiled as if he had seen his prey. He stretched out his finger and waved it a few times in the air. "Have you washed your neck clean? This Xiao didn't look for you, and you actually dare to come and seek death?" Xiao Hua's behavior was tantamount to naked provocation and insult, but Jiang Yuming was not angry. He still faintly replied, "The grudge between my Jiang family and you is a private grudge. The grudge between my Bronze Pillar Country and your Jiang country is a national grudge. My Jiang family is now under the orders of the emperor to destroy the remnants of the Dao sect. It has nothing to do with my Jiang family's grudge." Hee. Using official power for personal gain is actually said by you in such a dignified manner. This Xiao is really speechless. Xiao Hua sneered and pointed with the wishful staff in his hand. "I don't care what your reason is. Since you are here, leave your life. We haven't fought yet. Who knows who will leave their life?" Jiang Yuming raised his eyebrows, opened his mouth, and spat out a mouthful of cyan qi. In the air, the cyan cloud brocade that had originally covered the entire sky suddenly lit up, and countless inscriptions emerged from the clouds. These inscriptions were either jumping, flying, or cruising. As these inscriptions danced, a deep voice emerged from the void. These voices were either rhythmic or disorderly, but between each word and sentence, all the inscriptions gradually had a rhythm. "Oh, isn't that the meaning of the 100-seed book array?" Xiao Hua looked doubtfully at the familiar array formation in front of him. He was very puzzled. He had used the green seal script to break the 100-child book array in the Copper Pillar Academy. How could this Jiang Yuming not know? Why did he have to use the Confucian cultivator's book array again and again? But in the sky, millions of inscriptions first condensed into sentences and then gathered into articles. Pieces of articles floated in front of Xiao Hua's eyes, and sounds of recitation came from the void. The entire 5-brocade cloud atlas was solemn, as if he had entered a school. Looking at the place where Jiang Yuming was previously, Jiang Yuming's figure had already disappeared. Similarly, there were many inscriptions violently churning. However, what these inscriptions condensed was not an article, but a human figure about the same size as Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua swept a glance over and understood that this was the so-called child, transformed from Jiang Yuming's true qi, the Z that could kill with words and poems. Boom! When the thousands of articles finally gathered together and condensed into books, for huge books flashing with blue light appeared in the sky. Wind! With a loud shout, the already formed character opened its mouth, and the first of the 4 books slowly opened. A gust of wind mixed with a clamorous sound rushed out from the book and rushed towards Xiao Hua. "Haha! Isn't this the method of my Taoist? You actually dare to show off in front of this Xiao." Xiao Hua saw the hurricane coming and laughed loudly. He rubbed his hands, and rays of light flashed. In front of Xiao Hua, 100 feet tall yellow earth shield blocked the hurricane. Woo! Woo! Bursts of wind like the wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves collided with the earth shield. The earth shield flashed with a faint brilliance, blocking the hurricane without any difficulty. However, Xiao Hua, who was behind the earth shield, felt a little strange because the earth shield did not block all of the hurricane. Some of the wind still passed through the earth shield and blew on Xiao Hua's body. At first, Xiao Hua did not care, But as the impact of the hurricane became stronger, the Earth shield's brilliance flashed rapidly, and the wind blowing on Xiaohua's body also became stronger. In particular, the woo-woo wind was mixed with a strange sound. At this time, Xiaohua already understood that it was actually some common words. These words were clearly some inscriptions that Xiaohua did not understand, but Xiaohua's heart became more and more agitated with this sound. As his agitation became more and more intense, a kind of bone-softening and numbing feeling came from the golden body. Xiaohua was shocked. He understood in his heart that his transcendence golden body was not simple. It was different from the transcendence golden body of the Buddhist sect. It was based on his physical body and was displayed using the heavenly laws embodiment of heaven and earth technique. Xiaohua was confident that this golden body could not be damaged by an ordinary flying sword. How could it be damaged by a simple hurricane? Boom! Just as Xiaohua was shocked, the earth's shield that was as hard as iron and stone was destroyed by the hurricane. The wind whistled and drowned Xiaohua's golden body in an overwhelming manner. In an instant, thousands of noises, groans, curses, whispers, and all kinds of sounds fell into Xiaohua's ears. They entered both his ears and his heart. A kind of unconcealable agitation arose in Xiaohua's heart. This agitation made Xiaohua scratch his ears and his cheeks, not knowing what to do. The hurricane that blew away the earth's shield fell on Xiaohua's golden body. Wisps of wind turned into inscriptions that were so fine that they could not be heard. Along with the fluctuation of Xiaohua's mood, they rushed into the golden body with this agitation. Boom! In just a moment, Xiaohua's golden body showed signs of collapsing. The surface began to scatter, rumble. Xiaohua was very anxious. A green light suddenly appeared between his eyebrows. The lightning flash and thunder roll technique was used. Layer after layer of lightning covered Xiaohua's golden body. The inscriptions that came in contact with the green seal text immediately disappeared into nothingness. The thousands of noises were also covered by the lightning at this time. As soon as the noises and the hurricane disappeared, Xiaohua's golden body immediately stabilized. His heart also became clear. Granny, this. What kind of hurricane is this? What is this sound? Why is it so strange? Xiaohua took advantage of this gap to think quickly. Why am I so agitated? Humph. While Xiaohua was thinking, the coverage of the lightning flash and thunder roll technique increased. Not only did it cover the 4 books, but it also covered the Z book statue. These books and book statues all melted under the green seal text. However, these books were different from the ones in the Copper Pillar Academy. The green inscriptions between the clouds seemed to be endless. The amount of green seal text that melted was immediately replenished by the clouds. The speed was several times faster than the green seal text. Seeing this, Xiaohua finally understood Jiang Yuming's plan. He was now trapped in the formation. No matter how many green seal text characters there were, they couldn't compare to this Confucian cultivator's defensive formation. There, Z naturally wasn't afraid of being destroyed. It seems that if I don't understand why this hurricane is making me agitated, I'm afraid it won't be easy to get out of this situation. Xiaohua frowned slightly. In his mind, he recalled the reason why he was agitated just now. Wasn't it because of those noises? Thinking of this, Xiaohua closed his ears. However, even if he couldn't hear those noises, they still drilled into Xiaohua's heart like little insects. It was like a shrew cursing in the street. Even if you didn't want to hear it, those unpleasant words still fell into your ears and even attracted your attention. Gossips? Rumors and groundless gossip? Suddenly, Xiaohua seemed to understand something. He thought to himself, these Confucian cultivators use words to establish their divine abilities. How can their wind be the same as the Taoist sect's wind? This wind is made up of words and carries a kind of awe-inspiring aura. The power is only on the surface. The words are still in the bones. These words move people's hearts. Xinxin once said that the 5 Qis unification is to cultivate the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Isn't this Confucian cultivator's secret offensive technique the 5 Qis? The Confucian cultivator's wind is more focused on attacking the heart. As long as the Taoist sect's cultivator's Tao heart isn't pure and hasn't broken free from the bonds of the mortal world, they'll definitely fall into their trap. Confucian cultivators. Oh, Confucian cultivators, they're really scheming. Ha ha ha. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua laughed and sang, "My heart is clear. My will is righteous. I wish my heart to face heaven and earth. Why should I be afraid of others' rumors? My body is stone. My body is gold. I wish my body to stand in heaven and earth. I'm not afraid of others' rumors. My heart can accommodate heaven and earth. All things in heaven and earth are in my thoughts. My body can accept glory. My liver and gallbladder can be bright." Along with Xiao Hua's laughter, the sound of lightning and thunder stopped. The Buddha's relics in Xiao Hua's Niwen Palace formed the Akala seal and sat upright. In his middle dantian, the three-colored heavenly heart protected his 5 viscera and 6 bowels and slowly rotated. The nascent soul in his lower dantian also calmly cultivated. It was like he was strong. He was strong. He was strong. He was strong. It was also strange. Xiao Hua's thoughts were clear, and he wasn't afraid of 100 disasters. Although the wind was fierce and the rumors still entered his ears, Xiao Hua didn't listen to them. He was like an indomitable man. He was independent and couldn't be shaken by the so-called rumors and rumors. His heart was calm and his body was firm. The hundreds of millions of inscriptions attacked Xiao Hua's golden body. The golden body's light alternated between bright and dark without any signs of dimming. Instead, the golden light became more and more tenacious, as if Xiao Hua was tempering his body. Hiss! How is this possible? High up in the sky, the heads of the Jiang family's children appeared with true energy to support the child in midair. When they saw Xiao Hua actually break the wind formation in such a short time, they were all stupefied. The most powerful element of the Jiang family's wind, forest, fire, and mountain was the wind. Who knew how many cultivators couldn't see through this rumors and slanders, and their mental state was destroyed by the waves? Words could kill people, but those that could kill themselves were just slanders. If one's mental state wasn't really bright and wasn't hurt by the world's rumors, who could escape this heart-destroying wind? Xiao Hua was actually able to stand in the face of the wind. It was really too inconceivable. -12. Chapter 35:15. This Xiao Hua really has some tricks up his sleeve. Zhang Yuming's expression was still indifferent as he said, however, he was able to set up a blood steel in Seven Suns Temple and bring the old Taoist corpse into the academy alone. He is a brave person, so it's normal for him to be able to dodge the wind array. Let's activate the forest array. Let him see how powerful we are. Following Zhang Yuming's words, the huge Z in the sky once again stretched out its hand and opened the second book. Swish, swish, swish. From the book, droplets of emerald green light flew out like raindrops, instantly covering the entire sky. Every green was a slowly rotating inscription. Humph! Xiao Hua sneered. What kind of dirty trick is this? Obviously, since the Confucian cultivator could even use rumors, in Xiao Hua's eyes, there was no trick that he couldn't use. After Xiao Hua's cold snort, the hurricane swept the green dots towards Xiao Hua's golden body. How could Xiao Hua let these green dots get close to him? He rubbed his hands together, but the space within a few feet around him gave off a golden light, as if a golden glass was protecting Xiao Hua. Hoo-hoo! Xiao Hua's golden light was covered by these green dots in the wind. Then, the green dots began to expand, and countless tiny inscriptions gushed out from each green dot. At the same time, there was a mighty aura falling from the green clouds, and these inscriptions could be seen expanding with the naked eye. Gotcha! Xiao Hua's golden light was not without cracks, and the green dots that fell from the cracks now turned into inscriptions, destroying the restriction in an instant. Damn it, this is also possible? Xiao Hua cursed in his heart, and he was just about to urge his magic power once more. However, before he could move, he saw strings of inscriptions grow like clumps of tree branches within the entire grand formation. The roots and branches intertwined with each other, and they covered the heavens and the earth with the intention of imprisoning Xiao Hua. Oh, this Xiao understands. Seeing this, the corner of Xiao Hua's mouth curled up, and with a wave of his hand, dozens of jade talismans flew out. Rumble. Bursts of fireballs exploded nearby. These huge fireballs not only blew up the newly born branches, but also followed the direction of the inscriptions and swallowed the other inscriptions. Damn it! Jiang Yuming, who had always been calm, suddenly jumped up and said anxiously, This is the fire talisman that blew up Qin Qingyu's arm. So that fire talisman was refined by Xiao Hua. Before Jiang Yuming could recover from his shock, he saw Xiao Hua open his mouth, and a cauldron fell into the air. Xiao Hua cast seals, and the cauldron expanded to hundreds of feet in size. Woo! Thousands of fire crows flew out of the cauldron. These fire crows whistled and rushed to the forest-shaped prison in the sky. Rumble, rumble. All the inscriptions around the fire crows were burned. The forest array that was about to seal the entire space collapsed in an instant. The Dao sect's treasure is indeed extraordinary. Jiang Yuming sat down absent-mindedly. He looked at his senior brothers and granduncles, who also looked unfriendly. His heart was filled with complicated feelings. That's right, even though the Dao sect's treasures were extraordinarily powerful, what was behind this extraordinariness? Xiao Hua fought against all his disciples by himself. His spiritual power was unfathomable. Suddenly, Jiang Yuming understood something. The king of the Bronze Pillar country set up such a large defensive array in the Black Cloud Ridge with the intention of killing the chicken to scare the monkey. Wasn't Xiao Hua the same at this time? With the ability Xiao Hua showed at this time, he was afraid that before the array was activated, or even at the beginning, he could destroy the array. Why wait until now? Xiao Hua revealed his Dharma body and stood there calmly, countering each move as it came. It was as if the bamboo in his heart had already grown long ago. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuming's heart immediately turned cold. But at this moment, an old Confucian next to him said angrily, Quick, activate the fire array. Let's take advantage of this guy's complacency and let him taste the power of our Confucian cultivator's fire. It's hard to stop halfway. Let's wait until after this battle. Jiang Yuming felt bitter in his heart, but since it had already come to this, how could he stop? Thus, Jiang Yuming gathered his thoughts and focused on fighting the enemy. Sure enough, just as Xiao Hua activated the cauldron and used the Samadhi True Fire to destroy all the forest arrays, he was about to show off his power again and activate the flames to burn the 4 scrolls. Boom! The huge Zio raised his hand and the 3rd scroll opened. Flames poured out from the scroll like a rain of fire falling from the sky. Xiao Hua was somewhat puzzled. This Xiao is activating the flames. Why are they still using fire to attack? However, the fire of the 5 brocade cloud painting was different from Xiao Hua's fire. The color of the fire was light green, and countless inscriptions flowed within the flames. Waves of noble qi rushed into the flames. This green flame did not mix with Xiao Hua's Samadhi True Fire. When the two touched, they even passed through. Damn it! What kind of fire is this? Xiao Hua could be considered a cultivator who had seen the origin of fire. Whether it was the Samadhi True Fire or the 2-colored spiritual fire, they were all flames that were hard to find in the world. However, he still could not understand what kind of fire this green flame was. Because the flames had already reached his body, the golden light protecting his body could not stop them. Although the sky was filled with a rain of fire, Xiao Hua did not feel the heat of the flames at all. Xiao Hua hurriedly rubbed his hands, and several rays of light appeared. Layers of imprisonment appeared in the space near the golden body. However, the flames seemed to be formless, and simply ignored the imprisonment and fell down with a whoosh. Moreover, what made Xiao Hua shocked was that the closer the flame got to him, the faster it flew towards him. Especially when the flame passed through the imprisonment, it almost instantly rushed into his golden body. What made Xiao Hua lose his head out of fear was that after the first wisp of flames entered his golden body, the second wisp, the third wisp, and even more wisps of flames were like 100 birds returning to their nest. In an instant, they crossed the space barrier and rushed into Xiao Hua's golden body. Good. An old scholar behind Jiang Yuming clapped his hands and said with a smile, Great success. This child is crippled. Jiang Yuming's heart clearly relaxed. He naturally knew how powerful the heart fire of the Wind Forest Fire Mountain was. This fire looked like fire, but in reality, it was not fire. It was the fire in the cultivator's heart. All magic power and divine abilities were useless against it. If one could not stop the heart fire before it entered the heart, as long as the heart fire entered the body, it would ignite the fire in the cultivator's heart. It would burn from the inside out. Even a ninth-grade essence power would not be able to escape. Unfortunately, just as Jiang Yuming's heart relaxed, he saw the flames filling the sky instantly turn into fireflies and rush into Xiao Hua's golden body. Xiao Hua was flustered, as if he wanted to use some divine ability to stop it, but unfortunately, not even a wisp of flame could stop it. However, all the flames that entered Xiao Hua's body did not give birth to heart fire. The internal burning fire that Jiang Yuming and the others were hoping for did not appear. Even Xiao Hua himself lowered his head and looked at his golden body in confusion. This, what's going on now? Jiang Yuming and the others were dumbfounded. Haha. After a moment, Xiao Hua seemed to have realized something. He looked up to the sky and laughed. Jiang Yuming, your Jiang family has gone against the tide and harmed the common people. Now, even the heavens are not helping you. Just wait and wash your necks. Let me chop off your heads. How is this possible? An old scholar was trembling all over. He did not dare to believe his eyes. Now that things have come to this, what else can we say? Jiang Yuming had already regained his composure. He said in a low voice, "Let's see the last mountain array." All right, that old scholar also gritted his teeth. I don't believe that this child can resist the 100 seedlings by himself. As he spoke, the green sea of clouds rolled again. That child raised his hand, and the last scroll opened. The smile on Xiao Hua's face did not fade. He did not know the origin of the heart fire, but when his mind fell on his middle dantian, he saw that the crimson heart of the heavens was unusually dazzling. Many flames that rushed into his golden body disappeared after entering it. He already understood that this fire was the fire of the heart and lungs. It was one of the 5 elements. Rather than saying that the flames that filled the sky fell into his golden body because of the power of the array, it was more accurate to say that they were attracted by the crimson heart of the heavens. If he had not obtained the heart of the heavens, he was afraid that there would be some trouble. Let's see what the 4th scroll is. Xiao Hua was full of confidence. He raised his head and looked at the sky. When the last scroll opened, the entire sky was shaking. Whether it was the wind or the forest, they all disappeared and turned into specks of fireflies. Endless chi of righteousness crisscrossed the entire space. Inside the scroll, an inscription the size of a thumb appeared. All the surrounding inscriptions let out a deafening chanting sound and condensed toward this inscription. The 4 scrolls also flashed with a green brilliance and rapidly enlarged. In the roar of the entire space, everything condensed into a huge, 4-sided mountain. The 4 scrolls flew to the 4 sides of the huge mountain and turned into 4 large words. It was mountain of literature and sea of words. Fall. Z angrily roared from the horizon. Both of his hands produced a cyan-colored cloud brocade and slammed it on the huge mountain. The huge mountain issued a rumbling sound as it fell down towards Xiao Hua's head. Seeing the endless pressure coming from the giant mountain, the suffocating atmosphere was incomparably heavy. Xiao Hua was not surprised, but happy. Ha ha ha. He laughed a few times. He did not take out the wishful staff. Instead, he formed a seal with both hands. The spiritual power of the whole body surged, and the power of the secret sect's Buddhist seal rushed out with the power of the mountain. Boom! Xiao Hua waved his hands, and a golden light overflowed. It was not clear whether it was the golden light of the Taoist sect or the Buddhist sect. Everyone only felt that their eyes were bright, and then there was a loud noise that shook the entire space. Xiao Hua's golden light was like a demon god that could split heaven and earth. With his hands, the seemingly indestructible mountain of literature and sea of words collapsed. Whether it was the scrolls or the words, they all turned into inscriptions. Moreover, under the huge shock, these inscriptions turned into righteous chi. Puff, puff, puff. In the sky, Jiang Yuming and the others vomited blood. The child statue could no longer support itself and collapsed. The true qi in everyone's chest was swallowed back. Whether it was Zhang Yuming or the others, they had never recovered from the shock. They knew that Xiao Hua was a body cultivator, but they never thought that a cultivator could cultivate his strength to such a level. The wind, forest, fire, and fire scattered. The Jiang family of the Bronze Pillar country was completely defeated. -12. Chapter 35:16. Ding dong. The moment the sea of words collapsed, two clear zither sounds came from the void. Two faint blue flowers bloomed in the sky. These flowers seemed to be too weak to withstand a gust of wind. They looked especially pitiful against the blue cloud brocade. It was as if a gust of wind was blowing the petals into the air. Whoosh! It was also as if the autumn rain was sprinkling down with flying petals, covering the entire sky. Ding dong, ding dong. It was as if an orphan girl was sighing in disappointment. A few more zither sounds came, and a woman wearing a palace dress slowly appeared at the end of the blue cloud brocade. Who are you? Xiao Hua was an emotional person, so these few zither sounds made him a bit sad. He unconsciously stopped and asked. The woman stood on the cloud brocade. Her whole body was covered by the cloud brocade. One could only vaguely see her palace dress and figure, but not her appearance. The woman landed not far from Xiao Hua and bowed. This concubine is by Hou Yuqin. I am in charge of the water brocade diagram of the 5 brocade cloud diagram. Fellow immortal Xiao is very powerful and easily passed through 2 formations. This concubine had no choice but to come out and greet you. 5 brocade cloud diagram? Xiao Hua frowned and slightly nodded. I am very happy that fellow immortal Xiao can tell me the name of this formation. However, why don't you reveal your appearance? Wouldn't this fall into minor ascension again? Hee, fellow immortal Xiao is a gentleman. This concubine respects you very much. Bai Hou Yuqin laughed and said, this concubine originally didn't want to be fellow immortal Zhao's enemy. However, this concubine is a citizen of the Bronze Pillar country. When the country is in danger, this concubine has no choice but to face it head-on and use this water brocade diagram to fight fellow immortal Xiao. Of course, fellow immortal Xiao is very powerful, and this concubine knows that she is no match for him. Thus, this concubine will play a song here. As long as fellow immortal Xiao can hear the end of the song, this concubine will leave. This concubine has done her duty and won't dare to make things difficult for fellow immortal Xiao. However, once this concubine's appearance is seen by fellow immortal Xiao, this concubine's rain bell will lose some of its power. That's why I didn't dare to reveal myself. Please forgive me, fellow immortal. Bai Hou's zither retreated in order to advance. He clearly explained his difficulties and also explained that he used his zither to subdue the enemy. Xiao Hua slightly nodded and smiled. Fellow immortal Bai Hou is right. You and I are enemies today, so there's no need to be merciful. Just use whatever means you have. This Xiao will naturally listen attentively and appreciate the wonders of fellow immortal's zither music. Fellow immortal, please. Bai Hou Yuqin slightly bowed and sat down. She waved her hand, and a green brocade appeared out of thin air like a zither table. Bai Hou Yuqin placed the zither on the table and whispered, I'll begin. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed as light flowed around his body. The golden light slowly shrunk and returned to its normal size. Then, he placed his arms behind his back and looked at Bai Hou Yuqin indifferently. Ding dong. 2 simple sounds from the zither caused the entire formation to become silent. Xiao Hua's heart jumped twice as if he was enchanted by the zither music. Xiao Hua frowned. Xiao Hua frowned. At this moment, the sound of a zither slowly flowed out from the brocade clouds in the sky. Along with the sound of the zither, inscriptions appeared on the brocade clouds under the zither. These inscriptions danced and flowed along with the sound of the zither and quickly spread across the entire sky. In the originally dark green sky, the inscriptions intersected with each other rhythmically. Wisps of awe-inspiring qi gushed out. Gradually, these inscriptions began to transform. The night sky appeared, the stars dotted the sky, and the crescent moon hung in the sky. Not only that, willows began to appear on the left side of Xiao Hua. On the side of the willows, there was a river flowing out. On the river, there was a riverboat. On the riverboat, there was a boatman standing at the bow of the boat, seemingly looking at the mountain range. The swaying willow branches were like the graceful figure of a beauty, but also like the lonely mood of a beauty. Between the willow leaves, there was a pavilion with a small bridge. Inside the pavilion, a beauty and a young master seemed to be standing facing each other, but also seemed to be hugging each other and crying. At this moment, a sad but beautiful voice came from the zither music. The cicadas are mournful, facing the pavilion at night. The rain has just stopped. The tent at the gate is empty, reluctant to leave. The orchid boat is activated. Holding hands, looking at tearful eyes, speechless. Thoughts go to 1,000 miles of smoke. The evening mist is heavy. Chu Tianhua. Hiss. Xiaohua had always been on guard ever since Bai Ho started playing the zither. However, despite the myriad of illusions, the sound of the zither didn't cause any abnormalities. Even his heart, which he was paying attention to, didn't suffer any attacks. However, when this sad but beautiful voice came out, the illusions before his eyes began to change. The willow trees, the pavilion, and the night scene all disappeared. Instead, they were replaced by a vast ocean. At this moment, there was a beautiful woman on the beach looking at him. That woman's eyes were filled with reluctance, love, and determination. Shue. Xiao Hua knew that this was an illusion, but he couldn't help but call out in his heart. This was the sorrow of cultivators. As long as it was an ordinary person, they might see another person in their dreams. However, cultivators rarely slept. Even if it was a short rest, how could there still be dreams? Although Xiao Hua missed Shue in his heart and could see the netherworld lotus at any time in the dark side of the space, if he wanted to see Shue's appearance, he could only see it in his own memories. And this memory, even if Xiao Hua's divine ability was strong, he couldn't force it to stay. As time passed, it gradually dimmed. Now that he suddenly saw Shue alive, how could Xiao Hua not be moved? How could he bear to break this illusion? Husband. Shue's voice was mournful. This concubine really wants to be husband's wife. Xiao Hua's heart ached. An indescribable guilt spread out. He reached out his hand to grab Shue's hand. The scene before his eyes changed again. It was Shue holding the pink jade slip. Her eyes flashed with an indescribable bitterness. She said in a low voice, Xiao Hua, this is what this concubine wants to tell you. However, this is a secret. In the future, you'll know when you see it. Xiao Hua's heart shrank even more. At that time, he was so ignorant. He didn't know that what Shue gave him was her heart. What she gave him was her most precious life. Guilt involuntarily arose. Thinking about what he owed Shue, Xiao Hua was almost willing to give up everything he had in exchange for Shue's life. The illusions changed again. The palace of the misty mountain appeared in front of him. The pitiful Shue was lying in his arms. Her sweet sleeping face was full of tears. Those tears soaked his clothes. Xiao Hua's eyes couldn't help but shed tears. Yes, the careless him actually thought that it was the saliva of the sleeping Shue. However, he never thought that. The Shue in the dream was still heartbroken. His heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. This was the only feeling Xiao Hua had. The sound of Bai Ho's zither was still echoing in his ears. Xiao Hua clearly knew that this was an illusion. However, he couldn't bear to shatter this illusion. He would rather be intoxicated in this illusion. He would rather use his own safety in exchange for a chance to meet Shue. This was nothing more than drinking poison to quench one's thirst. Inside the great array, Xiao Hua's body was surrounded by a green brocade. The green true energy in the brocade was like a needle piercing into Xiao Hua's body. Xiao Hua's body was originally flickering with a golden light, but it only flashed for a moment. It was as if Xiao Hua had stopped it. In the entire space, besides the sound of the zither, there was also sorrow. This sorrow was even heavier than the green brocade. Time slowly passed. The brocade that previously only surrounded Xiao Hua's body gradually filled the entire great array. Although the sound of the zither was still clear, it was also somewhat slow. The singing voice was also tactful and long. Sentimental since ancient times, the sorrow of parting is even greater. How can the autumn festival be neglected? Tonight, Where will I wake up from my drunken stupor? The willow bank with the morning breeze and waning moon. This time, after many years, should be a good time in name only. Even if there are 1,000 kinds of amorous feelings, who will tell? Gradually, the song dissipated and the clouds parted. Although her appearance could be considered beautiful, she was still unable to resist the corrosion of time. The woman's face was already covered in frost. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted. There wasn't a trace of happiness in her victory. Instead, there was a trace of unhappiness from losing her heart. Congratulations, Fairy Bai Ho. A clear voice came from the distant horizon. It was the state preceptor of the Bronze Pillar country, Long Chinga, who was previously injured by Xiao Hua. Bai Ho shook her head slightly and said, "Young Master Long, according to the agreement, this is the last time I will serve the country. In the future, if there is another battle like this, don't look for me." Hee, Fairy is too sentimental. Long Chinga's figure had already recovered. He looked like a handsome old man. He didn't come forward and just laughed from afar. This child is a remnant of the Dao sect. You saw it just now. His methods are powerful. This old man and the Jiang family are not his opponents. If you don't subdue him, I'm afraid the people of the hidden immortal continent will be plunged into misery and suffering again. Today's battle is a great merit and should be rewarded by the country's monarch for getting rid of a scourge for us Confucian cultivators. Unfortunately, before he finished speaking, Bai Ho Yuqin waved her hand. Clang clang. 2 sounds of zither rang out. The woman coldly said, "Young Master Long's heart has long lost its rhythm. Now, only killing is left. Young Master's state of mind is no longer the same as before. You can only see the blood on this child, but you can't see the tenderness in this child's heart. This kind of cultivator who is aware of the illusion, whose heart is as clear as a mirror, but who is unwilling to erase the thoughts in his heart, how can he set off endless killing? In my opinion, if we didn't force him, he might not have fought." Forget it, forget it. Lung Chinga didn't want to argue with Bai Ho Yuqin. Hearing this, he waved his hand and laughed. Who cares if he is gentle or not? I don't care if he can set off 1,000 feet sea of blood. We only need to capture him and send him to the front of the palace. The country's monarch will deal with him. But at this moment, a faint voice sounded again. Who can bring this Xiao to the front of the palace? Lung Chinga, is that you? Why don't you come in front of this Xiao? Are you afraid that this Xiao will kill you on the spot? Long Chinga turned pale with fright and said anxiously, You. -12. Chapter 35:17. You. Bai Ho Yuqin was even more surprised than Lung Chinga. She looked at Xiao Hua, who was completely wrapped in the green brocade, with disbelief. Following Xiao Hua's voice, hundreds of golden lights that were even more brilliant than sunlight shot out from the green brocade. Xiao Hua's imposing figure slowly appeared. A faint smile appeared on Xiao Hua's face. His eyes were filled with a kind of relaxed and free spirit. When Xiao Hua raised his eyes to look at Bai Ho Yuqin, he smiled and said, "I've finally seen Fairy's appearance. This refined temperament really complements your zither music. This Xiao has learned a lot from listening to your music. Thank you very much." As he spoke, Xiao Hua slightly bowed. "I don't dare." Bai Ho Yuqin stopped being surprised and hurriedly returned the bow. Xiao Hua used his gaze to look at Lung Chinga in the distant sky and said indifferently, "However, Fairy Bai Ho said it well. When the music ends, the person ends. This Xiao should have won this battle, right?" Lung Chinga saw Xiao Hua's sword-like gaze and waved her hand. The brocade rose and disappeared again. Bai Ho Yuqin said helplessly, "Fellow immortal Xiao has already won. This concubine's technique is only child's play in your eyes. This concubine has really made a fool of herself." Xiao Hua slightly shook his head. "Fellow immortal is wrong. Fellow immortal's technique is miraculous. Fellow immortal's method of loosening the reins only to grasp them better hit this Xiao's weak spot. This Xiao's performance was not as pretentious as fellow immortal thought. This Xiao also had no intention of luring Lung Chinga into a trap." When Bai Ho Yuqin heard this, her face lit up and she said with a smile, "So that's how it is. This concubine is very happy. If the person in this concubine's eyes is also a scheming person, this concubine can only be disappointed in the people of this world. At this point, Bai Ho Yuqin hesitated and asked, however, this concubine is a bit puzzled. Mr. had already fallen into the illusion and was unable to extricate himself. How could you easily escape now? Hee, it's very simple. Because this world has its own cycle of reincarnation. Life is death. Death is life. Although death makes people feel sad, this death is also the beginning of a new life. If we cultivators only set our sights on death, how can we escape the cycle of reincarnation? Xiaohua didn't hide anything and replied with a smile. Moreover, the thing of love is something that exists. Regardless of whether it's time, separation, or life and death, it can't be erased. Perhaps the person is gone, but the love will always be there. Bai Ho Yuqin was beaming with joy as she listened. She stood up and respectfully saluted Xiaohua. This concubine has received your teachings. Many thanks for Gongzi's guidance. Ugh. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, it can't be considered guidance. It's just that this Zhao situation is rather special, so it's easy for him to understand. Haha, comprehending is comprehending. Comprehending is comprehending. Comprehending is comprehending. There is no reason. Bai Ho Yuqin said with a smile, after today's battle, I would like to invite young Master Ling Yuanya to accompany me. This concubine will play the zither and wait for you. All right, it's a deal, Xiaohua said with a straightforward smile. However, Bai Ho Yuqin smiled bitterly. Although young lord has passed this mistress test, there are still many more difficulties to come. Moreover, this mistress still has to. Xiaohua didn't wait for her to finish speaking. He waved his hand with a smile and said, there's no need to say anything more. Inside the formation, we're mortal enemies. It's the good fortune of 3 lifetimes for this Xiao to have such a straightforward and upright opponent like fellow immortal. Many thanks for Gongzi's understanding. Bai Ho Yuqin slightly saluted. She stroked the zither in her hand, and a cheerful zither sound rang out. At the same time her figure disappeared. A bright yellow cloud brocade appeared from all 4 sides of the sky and rolled towards Xiaohua's location. Xiaohua understood that this must be the 4th transformation of the 5 brocade cloud diagram. He took a deep breath, and the primordial spirit in his middle dantian activated the 5 qi unifications technique. He slowly absorbed the noble qi from the great formation and combined it with the true qi he absorbed from the heavenly heart to temper his lungs, heart, and spleen. At his kidneys, a sharp pain caused him to involuntarily frown. Bai Ho Yuqin's sound attack was very powerful. In fact, Xiaohua was already injured, and under his own perseverance, he had already fallen into an illusion. However, just as Xiaohua said, Xue Xue wasn't truly dead. Xue Xue's death in exchange for true eternal life was enough for Xiaohua to escape from the illusion created by Bai Ho Yuqin. Although Xiaohua managed to escape, he also paid a great price. This sound attack's damage to his kidneys was far greater than that of the profound water palace's puppet. Xiaohua didn't have Xion's origin replenishing pill, so he could only wait until after the battle to find an opportunity to heal. Roar! A loud roar rang out. Before the bright yellow brocade could completely envelop the sky, a red-faced brawny man with flames burning all over his body, riding a strange demon beast, emerged from the depths of the brocade. His aura was monstrous. This burly man was over 10 feet tall and was wearing a bright yellow armor. This armor was similar to ordinary armor, but it was engraved with fire patterns. The flames around the burly man's body came from these fire patterns. The brawny man had round eyes and a wide mouth. His yellow eyebrows were like 2 brooms, and his yellow eyes flickered with flames. His expression couldn't be seen. The brawny man's demon beast looked somewhat similar to the light beast, but it had no horns on its head and no scales on its body. Only wisps of flames were expanding and contracting as if they were breathing. Even the ground under its feet was covered in flames. The flames were like flowing tassels. Seeing this, Xiaohua smiled. Not to mention whether these flames were common in the Taoist sect, even if they were the invisible flames of a Confucian cultivator, why would he be afraid? Hey, the brawny man flew closer, raised his hand, and pointed at Xiao Hua. I'm West Buohong from Shallow Moon Ridge. Are you the Taoist sect's Xiao Hua? The Xiao Hua who set up the Bloodsteel and Seven Suns Monastery? I am indeed the Taoist sect's Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua sneered. I've already broken through 3 layers of the formation. Could it be that Taoist West doesn't know? Ha 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 ha, good. I'm Long Chinga's good friend. I didn't plan to help him before. Shi Buohong laughed heartily. However, when I heard about your actions in the Copper Pillar country, I was curious. I even personally went to the Seven Suns Monastery. The words written on the Bloodsteel are still vivid in my mind. To be able to fight with a warrior like you is my long-cherished wish. Come, come, come. Let me see if you have the strength to set up the Bloodsteel. Let me see if you're worthy of me coming all the way here. Damn it. Xiao Hua couldn't help but curse in his heart. With one look, I can tell that this guy is a heartless thing. Since he admires me, he shouldn't be helping the evildoer. Now that you want to fight with me, do you think I'll still remember your kindness? Seeing West Buohong controlling the monster, waving his bare hands, the righteous Qi stirred up thousands of fire pillars. There was also an endless sea of fire that blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it rushed towards Xiao Hua. The indescribable heat and the suffocating strength were more powerful than 10 fire-controlling cultivators. Xiao Hua sneered. If other attacks had this kind of power, Xiao Hua would have to be on guard. However, in the face of fire-controlling technique, Xiao Hua didn't feel any pressure at all. If he was afraid of fire, how many people in the world wouldn't be afraid of fire? With a thought, Xiao Hua waved his hands and displayed the fire-controlling technique. Sure enough, the surrounding flames slightly jumped, and then the flames suddenly emitted a brilliant brilliance. They danced a bit more lively than before. Ha ha ha, Xiao Hua laughed. Looking at the flickering inscriptions in the flames, he waved his hands and several fire pillars were like fire dragons. They circled around his body for a moment, and then rushed towards West Buohong. West Buohong's red face was also surprised. He didn't expect Xiao Hua to be able to control the flames in the 5 brocade cloud painting. However, since he was already here, what else could he do? The surprise only lasted for a moment. The flames in West Buohong's eyes jumped crazily. The flames around his body also soared to the sky. Between the waves of his hands, fireballs appeared out of thin air. They roared and rushed towards Xiao Hua's fire dragons. Rumble. This battle was completely different from the previous one. The sound of explosions shook the sky, like thousands of volcanoes erupting. The entire area within dozens of miles of the battle was shaking. The flames in the sky were monstrous and thick smoke was rolling. The black cloud ridge was covered with scarlet flames. If Xiao Hua's capital star array wasn't on the ridge, the entire Black Wind Ridge would have been scorched red long ago. See, not to mention Longqinga, even Do Shanjun, who understood Xiao Hua, sucked in a breath of cold air. The strength that Xiao Hua displayed was really too different from before. Do Shanjun was very clear about West Buohong's strength. If he had the help of the 5 brocade cloud painting, Do Shanjun wasn't sure how strong West Buohong could be. But even so, Xiao Hua was still able to fight him as an equal. This made Do Shanjun feel even more incredulous than when Xiao Hua defeated Longqinga. After all, Xiao Hua relied on the golden body of a body cultivator to deal with Longqinga. Do Shanjun had already seen Xiao Hua's immense strength. At this moment, Xiao Hua's magic power was boundless. Do Shanjun couldn't help but turn his head to look at Sir Baiguazhenming of the Copper Pillar Academy. Baiguazhenming's eyes were also filled with shock. It was obvious that their previous worries had come true. If Xiao Hua had this kind of magic power 100 days ago, Baiguazhenming would be the one to run away. While Do Shanjun and the others were still in shock, the 5 brocade cloud painting underwent a new change. Xiao Hua waved his hand and dozens of fire talismans flew into the air. These fire talismans didn't immediately explode. Instead, they followed the fire dragons and landed 100 feet away from West Buohong. It was a kind of magic array that trapped West Buohong. Xiao Hua sneered, "Fellow immortal, pay attention." Xiao Hua formed a seal in his hand, and the dozens of fire talismans exploded at the same time. Boom! A loud sound resounded, and dozens of fireballs rushed towards Shi Buohong like dragons playing with pearls. Roar! Xiao Hua's mastery of formations had already reached the acme of perfection. The fire talisman was even more so. At this moment, even if Shi Buohong wanted to dodge, he couldn't. However, two fire pearls suddenly flew out from his eyes. At the same time, the fire beast below him also roared loudly. A basket-sized Yao core flickered and spat out. -12. Chapter 35:18. Swoosh. The three fire pearls immediately formed a triangle and protected Shi Buohong in the middle. Rise, rise, rise. Shi Buohong roared 3 times. 3 masses of noble spirit rushed out from the void near the 3 fire pearls. With a boom sound, the 3 fire pearls were ignited. Immediately after, the 3 fire pearls exploded even more violently than the fire talismans. Boom boom, woo woo. The 2 intense waves of fire quickly collided together, emitting a whimpering sound like a hurricane. Moreover, the flames mixed with the golden brocade soared into the sky like a gale, blowing Xiao Hua, who was in the distance, to the point that his figure swayed. Xiao Hua was already like this. How good could Shi Buohong be? Admittedly, the 3 fire pearls exploded around him, reducing the impact of the fire talismans. However, under the violent pressure of the waves of fire, he was like a scarecrow standing under the sea breeze. Kacha! A series of crisp sounds rang out. The flames around Shi Buohong's body were immediately extinguished. The fire armor on his body instantly cracked and flew out from the waves of fire. In a moment, it was unknown where he was swept away. It was also at this moment that Xiao Hua caught sight of Shi Buohong's true body. His body did not have much flesh and bones, and his skeleton-like face emitted a faint golden glow. His eyes, in particular, were pitch-black holes. There were no eyeballs at all. In just a snap of a finger, the countless flames leaped out from Shi Buohong's body and completely covered him. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hua, you're really powerful. Shi Buohong was forced to this extent by Xiao Hua, but instead of being angry, he was actually happy. He laughed loudly and said, "This old man has never seen a cultivator who can force this old man to this extent just by relying on fire control techniques. Watch carefully." As he spoke, Shi Buohong flew up from the back of the fire beast. With a tap of his foot, the flames around the fire beast's body flourished. The noble spirit in the void crazily poured in. Even the golden cloud brocade turned into a waterfall and rushed down. The fire beast's body could be seen expanding with the naked eye. Pung! A loud sound rang out, and there were actually waves of chanting sounds. That fire beast actually exploded, and similarly, it enveloped Xiao Hua's surroundings for several hundred feet. Buzz buzz! The flaming beast's flesh emitted a series of rumbling sounds, just like a Tao sect cultivator's Dharma artifact. Following the rumbling sounds, every piece of flesh began to rotate. Not only did it absorb the surrounding righteous qi and golden cloud brocade, but it also absorbed the raging flames. Oh? Xiao Hua raised his brow as he looked at the flesh and blood of these fire beasts that had transformed into identical fire beasts. Sweeping them with his divine sense, he discovered that these fire beasts were not illusions and couldn't help feeling surprised. Roar! Tens of thousands of fire beasts raised their heads and roared at the same time. Tens of thousands of hurricanes swept away the flames that filled the sky. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to think, all the fire beasts pounced on Xiao Hua. This pounce didn't matter, but Xiao Hua only felt that the space around him was completely confined. A kind of vague circular space formed around him. Within this space, his transcendence energy couldn't be mobilized. His hands and feet also became heavier than 10,000 caddies. It seemed that Shi Buohong was actually able to use a secret technique to completely suppress the power of the 5 brocade cloud painting within this space of 10 feet. If these tens of thousands of fire beasts pounced on him, even if his body was tough, he would still be crushed into meat paste. However, Xiao Hua didn't seem to be afraid at all. He actually calmly stretched out his hand and pinched his chin twice, as if he was sizing up this earth-shattering wave of flames. This kind of confidence caused Shi Buohong, who was originally full of confidence in the sky, to feel greatly uneasy. Boom! Tens of thousands of identical fire beasts finally charged together. Xiao Hua's figure was instantly engulfed by the flames. Shi Buohong's eyes seemed to see a huge firework that had never been seen before in the world. The space shook and fire snakes overflowed. Is it over? Shi Buohong's eyes flickered with a fiery light, as if his heart was filled with doubt. He somewhat didn't dare to believe it. After all, facing such a powerful attack, Xiao Hua actually didn't resist. Looking at the center of the flames, Xiao Hua's figure was nowhere to be seen. If he wasn't killed by tens of thousands of fire beasts, what kind of ending could there be? Although Shi Buohong didn't dare to believe it, seeing the flames before his eyes flourish, the fire beasts that had accompanied him for who knows how many years had already disappeared, and Xiao Hua's figure still hadn't appeared. Shi Buohong could only sigh. To be able to pay such a huge price to kill Xiao Hua, he didn't know whether to be happy or sad. But at this moment, an indifferent voice came from above his head. Shi Buohong, do you have any other methods? Xiao Hua? The fiery light in Shi Buohong's eyes flourished. He hastily raised his head. Sure enough, the unscathed Xiao Hua was standing in midair, coldly looking at him. His eyes carried a trace of disdain. Correct, it's me. Xiao Hua coldly smiled and said, in order to kill the enemy, you actually abandoned your own demon pet. I really don't know whether I should be happy for it or not, or whether I should be sad for it. Perhaps it was because Xiao Hua was too sensitive, or perhaps it was because Xiao Hua was also a cultivator of Buddhism. But when those tens of thousands of fiery beasts rushed towards him with indescribable solemnity, Xiao Hua easily cast a fire escape spell and escaped from the deadly situation. It was also when Xiao Hua escaped into the flames that he felt the fire beast's sorrow on the verge of death, that kind of reluctance to part with the world and its attachment to Shi Buohong. This is my business, it has nothing to do with you. Shi Buohong was similarly cold. The flames around his body flickered with a piu-piu sound. What I want to know is, how did you escape from the broken tooth beast's attack? Oh, so that pitiful fire beast's name is Broken Tooth. Shi Buohong, you really don't want to know how sad the broken tooth beast was? You really don't want to know how much it didn't want to leave you? You really don't want to know how bitter the broken tooth beast was when it lost its Yao Dan, as well as the pain of losing its life? Xiao Hua looked at Shi Buohong and asked very calmly, could it be that a victory is so important? I'm sure you've also seen that I don't intend to kill all of you. Even if you're not my match, no need to say so much. Shi Buohong waved his hand. I didn't think that Xiao Hua, who could write the blood steel, would actually be so wishy-washy. You've really disappointed me. I'll say it again. Whether the broken tooth beast lives or dies is my business, it has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to tell me how you escaped, then I'm leaving. If you want me to stay, then you can make a move. Since it's come to this, it looks like I'm absolutely not your match. AI. Xiao Hua's voice showed the vicissitudes of life. He really didn't understand what Shi Buohong was thinking. How many times had Xiao Hua been unwilling to let Little Black and Little Yellow, whether it was the Void or the Blackwater Palace? Even when Little Silver and the Divine Power Centipede had come out of the space to take risks, this Shi Buohong had actually made the broken tooth beast self-destruct. Shi Buohong, haven't you heard of our Dao sect's escape technique? Xiao Hua thought for a bit, then sighed and replied in a low voice. 5 elements escape technique? Impossible. The flames in Shi Buohong's eyes shot out more than half a foot, and he was clearly particularly astonished. How can the Dao sect's 5 elements escape technique escape from my blazing fire array? There's nothing impossible in this world. Since you can give up the pet beast that you live with day and night, why can't I use the 5 elements escape technique to escape from your blazing fire array? Xiao Hua's tone was already indifferent. Besides, our Dao sect spells are profound and unfathomable, as numerous as the stars in the sky. How much do you know? Go. For the sake of the broken tooth beast's dead, I won't take your life. Humph. Shi Buohong laughed coldly. Golden cloud brocade swirled around him, and his entire figure suddenly disappeared in midair. Even if you want to kill me, you have to look at the place first. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hua laughed so hard that tears were about to fall. After listening to Bai Ho's zither, Xiao Hua's heart really softened. and he shouted, "Ignorant brat! Truly, the ignorant are fearless." Woo! While Xiaohua was laughing, a touch of gray slowly appeared in the golden horizon, like a gray cloud in the clear sky. After this gray cloud appeared, it immediately floated towards Xiaohua, and he saw two people standing on it. Xiaohua put his hands behind his back and indifferently looked at that gray cloud. When it got closer, he unconsciously frowned. Because on this gray cloud, the one behind it was precisely Do Shanjun that Xiaohua somewhat didn't want to see. Only the one in front of him with a simple face, wearing a scholar's robe, Xiaohua knew that he must be the Copper Pillar Academy's headmaster. Dao Sec's Xiaohua greets headmaster. He still respected this headmaster who didn't desperately try to kill him that day. After the gray cloud settled, Xiaohua extended his hand and cupped his hands in greeting. Beigo Zhenming also didn't dare to be negligent, and similarly stood on the cloud and bowed in greeting. Copper Pillar Academy's Beigo Zhenming greets fellow immortal Xiao. "Oh, so it's Headmaster Beigo." Xiaohua stared blankly and blinked his eyes. "You Confucian cultivators' names are quite strange. Previously there was a Bai Ho, and now there's a Beigo. Aren't you looking down on this Xiao's ignorance?" Hee. Hearing Xiaohua's words, Beigo Zhenming's heart relaxed, and he said with a smile, "Us Confucian cultivators have multiplied in the hidden immortal continent for who knows how many years. Whether it's a compound surname or a single surname, they all have a very long history. In ancient times, there were compound surnames such as Fenglei, Fengjiang, Fengren, Fengfu, Fufu, Fufu, and so on. However, as the descendants of these compound surnames disappeared, the compound surnames also disappeared. Now, I'm afraid there aren't many left. Ouyang, Taisher, Duanmu, Shangguan, and so on still exist." Duanmu? Hee. I'm afraid the ones left behind are all Confucian cultivator families? Hearing the two words Duanmu, Xiaohua said with a smile. Beigo Zhenming nodded and said, "My Beigo family can also be considered a 7th-rank family, and can't be compared to the Duanmu family." And Xiaohua nodded and pulled the topic back. Previously, this Xiao didn't see fellow immortal Beigo's true appearance, but now that I've seen it, it's exactly the solemnity of a Confucian cultivator. It can't be mentioned in the same breath as a certain person's handsomeness. It's no wonder that fellow immortal Beigo can become the headmaster of an academy, while others can only be the headmaster. -12. Chapter 35:19. I wouldn't dare. Beigo Zhenming seemed to have seen through Xiaohua's narrow-mindedness and understood that he was referring to Do Shanjun. He shook his head and hurriedly replied. Then, Xiaohua continued, "Also, I would like to thank fellow immortal Beigo for not blaming me for the offense of pushing down the gate." This, Beigo Zhenming smiled bitterly. "Fellow immortal Beigo doesn't need to thank me. I came here today to punish you, but seeing how mighty you are, how could I dare to say a word? I only hope that fellow immortal Beigo won't make things difficult for the students of my Copper Pillar Academy after you escape from this formation. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. I understand this." Xiaohua smiled coldly, his gaze sweeping across the clouds like a sharp sword. "If I don't kill those culprits, I don't mind staining my hands with blood again. Yes, I understand. I'm sure the others also understand this." Beigo Zhenming nodded and said, "Today, I was ordered by the monarch to set up the 5 brocade cloud painting because I wanted to meet fellow immortal Beigo and let others know how powerful fellow immortal Beigo is." "Good." Xiaohua flung his sleeve. "You all set up the formation. I didn't get to fight to my heart's content in the Copper Pillar Academy. Today, I'll have a taste of fellow immortal Beigo's techniques." "I wouldn't dare. The techniques we use are for worldly affairs. Fellow immortal Beigo, please be careful." Beigo Zhenming cautioned very carefully. "I know. Go ahead and use it." Xiaohua smiled faintly and waved his hand. The seal of overturning the sea rushed out of the space with a rumbling sound and blocked Xiaohua's body in an earthy yellow brilliance. Just as Beigo Zhenming and Xiaohua greeted each other, the gray cloud brocade had already covered the entire formation. What was different from the previous formations was that the ground beneath everyone's feet was also gray, as if it was an ordinary layer of earth. Xiao Hua's gaze swept over it and immediately understood that this 5 brocade cloud painting was probably related to the 5 elements. Now, it could be considered as earth. Sure enough, Beigo Jinming stood on top of the gray cloud and raised his hand. The tall crown fell off, and a head of gray hair fell down. Do Shanjun, who was standing behind him a moment ago, had already hidden behind the brocade cloud. Moreover, a moment later, he appeared in another place. Beigo Jinming's voice. Meng Xiaxi surges, lush greenery. My grief is forever mourning, and I gurgled into the southern soil. Kong Jing was humorous. Depressed and depressed, he bowed deeply. To soothe the feelings and serve one's will, to restrain one's grievances. Just when I thought I was going to make amends, I didn't do it for you. As Beigo Jinming's voice drifted through the entire space, the sky instantly darkened, and the earth fell silent. It was as if rain had descended from the void, but also as if there was a sorrowful noble chi gathered from all directions. A great river and the boundless black land on both sides of the river appeared before their eyes. Haha. Although Xiao Hua could sense Beigo Jinming's concern for the country and its people, and he could also understand the bitterness in his words, Xiao Hua didn't feel anything special. He only smiled and sensed a very strong earth-type, spiritual energy from the righteous qi. The greenish-gray brocade began to solidify into a solid layer of earth. At this moment, Do Shanjun opened his mouth again. To the north of the mountain, the words of the qi are chosen. Together with scholars, they work day and night. The imperial affairs are dispirited, and I worry about my parents. Under the heavens, all is the imperial land. On the shores of the earth, all are the imperial subjects. The doctors are unequal, and I work alone. The 4 mountains are booming, and the imperial affairs are close. I am not old yet, and I am fresh in my generals. The military power is strong, and I manage the 4 directions. Or the swallow lives in peace. Or the country does its best. Or I lie on the bed. Or I don't work. Or I don't know how to call. Or I fail miserably. Or I perch, or I lie down. Or the imperial affairs are in charge. Or I drink wine happily. Or I suffer miserably. Or there are rumors. Or I don't do anything. Following this voice, the awe-inspiring qi in the great formation rapidly transformed. The imperial court, the palace, the capital, the town, the army, the village, and so on swarmed out. A kind of indescribable majesty, a kind of awe that restricted the mind, spiraled around Xiao Hua like invisible shackles. Soon after, there was an extremely large amount of chanting coming from behind Yunjin. The world is vast, all is the imperial land. On the shores of the earth, all are the imperial subjects. The chanting was like a monk chanting sutras. Sentence after sentence, each sentence gave birth to a ring of awe-inspiring qi that was several thousand feet in size. It fell towards Xiao Hua like a tight hoop. This ring encircled another ring, and the rings were unbroken. Xiao Hua furrowed his brows and tried to escape in midair. However, no matter how he dodged, that ring would not disappear. It could always accurately find Xiao Hua. Go. Xiao Hua smiled coldly and pointed his finger. The seal of overturning the sea rushed out, whistling as it pounced towards that ring. Boom! Like a thunderbolt, several rings were shattered by the seal of overturning the sea. They turned into dirt and slowly fell down, unable to pose any threat to Xiao Hua. Headmaster Beigua, Xiao Hua smiled faintly. If this is all you have, then you'd better retreat. Beigua Jinming smiled bitterly. Xiao Hua's move seemed very easy, but the seal of overturning the sea was facing the attack of several hundred Bronze Pillar Academy students. Not to mention these students, even he and Do Shanjun did not dare to hold back just now. Taoist magic has actually reached such a miraculous level? Beigua Jinming sighed inwardly and hurriedly said, "Fellow immortal Xiao, thank you for letting me win." As they spoke, Beigua Jinming and Do Shanjun slapped their foreheads at the same time. 2 streams of true qi soared into the sky. As the true qi fell into the gray brocade, palm-sized dirt rings suddenly appeared in the air around Xiao Hua. These air rings were like bubbles, flying towards the space around Xiao Hua's body. There were rotating true qi between the air rings. These true qi were green-gray in color, and they displayed an extremely powerful suction and confinement force. Ouch! Xiaohua was clearly caught unprepared. The surrounding space of several hundred feet was controlled by these air rings. Not to mention the true essence in his body, even Xiaohua's powerful physical body was practically unable to move. Damn it, I was a bit careless. I fell for old man Baigua's trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Xiaohua was somewhat regretful. His whole body flashed with golden light, and he struggled to move a few times. He wanted to urge his magic power to control the seal of turning the sea, but not only was his magic power unable to rush out, the seal of turning the sea was even tumbling in midair, not listening to him at all. What surprised Xiaohua the most was not this, but those strange air rings. The confinement force and suction force of these air rings were very random, and they were constantly changing. There were even more air rings, and they were like a layer of soil that wanted to drown Xiaohua. The most special thing was that there was a kind of aura within the air rings that Xiaohua was unfamiliar with. This aura gave birth to a kind of fear and submission that Xiaohua had never felt before. This kind of feeling had always interfered with Xiaohua's cultivation and resistance. Roar! Xiaohua roared, and the golden light around his body flashed again. He forcibly displayed the heavenly law embodiment technique. Xiaohua even waved the wishful staff, wanting to break this strange confinement force. Unfortunately, this confinement force was so powerful and so smooth. Under Xiaohua's wishful staff, dozens of air rings immediately slipped away under the staff's wind. The wishful staff had no place to exert force at all. As for the Transcendent's golden body, it was suppressed by a powerful force, as if the whole world had fallen on the shoulders of this golden body. Governing the world. Understanding this confinement that could not be jumped out, Xiaohua understood the power of the means of the Confucian cultivators. In addition to the ordinary power of the Tao sect's magic, the Confucian cultivators also added the study of governing the world. In addition to the power of the mountains, this confinement should also contain the power of royalty and the power of submission, right? Ranger. When he thought of royalty, Xiaohua naturally thought of Yu Zhongquan. He looked at the air rings that were increasingly gushing out from the left side. Now there were hundreds of air rings, and he couldn't even move his fingers. He couldn't help but have a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. Buzz! Xiaohua's whole body flashed with brilliance, and a bright sword light was born from Xiaohua's body. A heart shape slowly emerged from the sword light, transform into a sword? Beigo Jinming was so surprised that his chin almost fell. The inscription of governing the world in his mouth was almost interrupted. He really didn't think that Xiaohua would have the swordsmanship of the Confucian cultivators, and this swordsmanship had already reached a very high level. Just as Beigo Jinming was surprised, a giant sword had already emerged from the hundreds of air rings. Xiaohua's voice was like the sound of the sword coming out from the giant sword, resounding throughout the entire array. The ruler is the head of the country. The ruler is wise, and the country flourishes. The ruler is weak, and the country is weak. The great hero is for the country and the people. The small hero is chivalrous and righteous. Although it is the ruler's order, no one dares to disobey. But I turned my body into a sword and asked for the people's order. The ruler is wise, and the ruler is weak, and the country is destroyed. Since you are the ruler, you should have the world in your heart, and the sea accepts hundreds of rivers. Today's ruler, for his own selfishness, I have a benevolent heart and want to turn the tide. I will kill you and return the world to peace and prosperity. Kill. As he spoke, the giant sword turned into the shape of a heart and soared into the sky from the confinement. Moreover, the sword light was more dazzling than a rainbow piercing the sun. It easily streaked through the array, and a huge crack appeared in the gray cloud brocade. The entire blue sky and the earth under their feet cracked open, and the thousands of incantations stopped abruptly. Beigo Jinming's face was ashen. Facing Xiaohua's sword attack, he was confident that he didn't have the ability to take it. Moreover, Xiaohua was able to defeat him as a Confucian cultivator. He was also speechless. Looking up at the equally shocked Do Shanjun, both of them sighed softly. They stretched out their hands, and gray cloud brocade appeared. Their figures slowly disappeared. The sword light was like a horse, and the sword intent was like a heart. When Xiao Hua escaped from the sword, thousands of sword lights entered his body. Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and looked at the sky that was already empty. He smiled and said, "Lung Chinga, this Xiao has already broken through 5 layers of the 5 brocade cloud diagram. Do you have any other tricks?" Xiao Hua, I have to say, this old man has really underestimated you. Lung Chinga's figure was now only about 10 feet tall. He stood in the sky to the east and said indifferently, however, "If you think that the 5 brocade cloud diagram only has this much power, then you have underestimated the defensive array of my Confucian cultivator." -12. Chapter 35:20. Oh, that's unexpected. Xiao Hua frowned and asked curiously, "Could it be that you still have a backup plan for this defensive formation?" "Ha ha ha, it's not just a backup plan." Lung Chinga laughed loudly. "The entire 5 brocade cloud diagram hasn't been used yet. What happened before was just a warm-up for us." "Humph." Xiao Hua snorted coldly. He pointed at the seal of turning sea that was still in midair and shouted, "Since that's the case, then I'll let you see what this Xiao is capable of. Fellow immortals, why haven't you shown yourselves yet?" How could Lung Chinga let Xiao Hua make the first move? With a loud roar and a wave of his sleeve, layers of cloud brocade blocked the seal of the ocean like the waves of the sea. Following Lung Chinga's command, Beigo Zhenming, Shi Buohong, Bai Ho Yuqin, and Jiang Yuming simultaneously stood on the other 4 sides of the horizon. As soon as the 4 of them appeared, they looked at each other and took out a silk handkerchief from their robes. This silk handkerchief was exactly the same color as the cloud brocade they each controlled. Seeing the 4 silk handkerchiefs appear, Lung Chinga opened his mouth. Pooh! A blood-red light appeared and a scarlet-red silk handkerchief rushed out. When that silk handkerchief appeared in midair, the other 4 silk handkerchiefs moved without any wind. At the same time, they soared into the sky and slowly expanded, looking like 4 banners. Lung Chinga and the other 4 raised their hands and slapped the top of their heads. 5 streams of true qi soared into the sky and hit the 5 silk handkerchiefs. Ka-cha-cha! 5 different colored thunderbolts appeared from the void and surrounded the 5 silk handkerchiefs. Boom! The silk handkerchiefs let out a trembling sound. Inscriptions rushed out of the silk handkerchiefs like millions of tadpoles. Immediately, the cloud brocade within the 5 brocade cloud diagram rushed into the vibrating silk handkerchiefs like a whale sucking in water. The rumbling sounds from the silk handkerchiefs grew louder and louder, and the inscriptions fell into the true energy of Lung Chinga and the others. Slowly, 5 more children appeared within the inscriptions. As soon as the 5 children were complete, they waved their hands, causing thunderbolts to strike the silk handkerchiefs in front of them. The inscriptions on the silk handkerchiefs began to solidify, and in the blink of an eye, 5 strange objects appeared. These strange objects continued to be surrounded by thunderbolts. 5 Chi righteous thunder, rise. Lung Chinga let out a soft whistle, which was a rare sight. True Chi surrounded her body and spun towards the top of her head, carrying the Z as she flew towards the center of the formation. The 5 children flew to the center at the same time and opened their mouths. 5 mouthfuls of genuine Qi fell into the void, forming a thumb-sized 5-colored Qi mass. Then, the 5 children raised their hands and sent 5 similarly strange things into the 5-colored Qi mass. Kacha! The 5-colored thunderbolts intertwined with each other, and the 5 strange things condensed into one within the thunderbolts. This is. Seeing this strange thing that looked like an inkstone forming in the sky, Xiao Hua was dumbfounded. Isn't this the broken magic treasure in this Xiao space? Of course, this strange thing looked like a quadrilateral, but the edges of this quadrilateral were extremely irregular. Rather than calling it an inkstone, it was more like a high platform. On one side of the high platform, there were 3 protrusions, like antennae. On the opposite side of the high platform, there were 2 protrusions, like tail fins, slanted into the air. This high platform was covered with true inscriptions, one after another, layer after layer. On one side of the high platform, There were 3 shining golden inscriptions deeply engraved on it. The position of these 3 inscriptions were almost exactly the same as the 3 tadpole-like characters in Xiaohua's space. Xiaohua could clearly see these 3 inscriptions. They were the immortal execution stage. Hiss, Xiaohua once again sucked in a breath. Today, Longqinga gave him a lot of surprises. He didn't think that the thing in his space was actually the immortal execution stage. Looking at those 3 large characters, they seemed to contain boundless majesty, and also emitted a myriad of bloody auras from within, making people who saw them feel an indescribable fear in their heart. Just as Xiaohua was shocked, behind the distant clouds, a thoughtful face flashed by. It was precisely that Copper Pillar Academy's judge, Du Shanjun. However, not only Xiaohua didn't know, even the 5 people controlling the immortal execution stage didn't know. Immediately, 5 pitch-black whirlpools appeared in the sky above the immortal execution stage. The 5 whirlpools separately faced the 5 protrusions like antennae. Kacha. 5 different colored thunderbolts were born from the void, falling on the antennae. Immediately, the entire immortal execution stage violently shook. The 5 types of thunderbolts flashed in succession above the immortal execution stage, simultaneously condensing into a bowl-shaped 5-colored heavenly thunder, striking towards Xiaohua. 5 Qi righteous thunder. Xiaohua was startled. He didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly tried to dodge. However, as the heavenly thunder struck down, just like the previous lightning tribulation, the space around Xiaohua was imprisoned. Xiaohua couldn't even move. Damn it! Xiaohua turned pale with fright. Looking at the 5-colored heavenly thunder that transformed into a guillotine and roared down, he really doubted whether his body could withstand it. This was the immortal execution stage. This 5-colored heavenly thunder was definitely a heavenly punishment, completely different from ordinary lightning. Xiaohua's thoughts were like lightning. That 5-colored heavenly thunder was even faster than lightning. It simply didn't allow Xiaohua to dodge. With a loud kachiv sound, it had already struck Xiaohua's right side. Xiaohua let out a blood-curdling scream. The flesh on his right arm was immediately charred black. The lightning penetrated his skin at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his originally plump muscles also instantly shriveled. If Xiaohua's demonic phoenix body hadn't gone through 3 gold lightning tribulations and been tempered for many years, this strike would have already shattered him. In an instant, Xiaohua slightly raised his left hand, wanting to use the Blood Devil Saber to strike down the immortal execution stage. However, he slightly clenched his teeth and endured. The Blood Devil Saber is a demonic weapon. It must not be revealed in the hidden immortal continent, unless Xiaohua was willing to kill everyone in the Black Wind Mountain range. Little Thunder. Suddenly, Xiaohua's heart moved. He immediately thought of the Thunder Beast cub under the damaged immortal execution stage. This little guy was living a carefree life under the lightning water of the immortal executioner stage. In the past 100 years, there was no movement. Moreover, Xiaohua also discovered from the 5 Qi righteous thunders that this so-called immortal executioner stage might not be the real immortal executioner stage. The 5 Qi righteous thunders below the level of a fake were the most difficult to resist. The real Thunder Beast would definitely not be afraid of these fake 5 Qi righteous thunders. Thinking about this, Xiaohua's mind immediately entered the space, preparing to pull Little Thunder out of the lightning water under the damaged immortal execution stage. At this moment, green-robed Xiaohua suddenly appeared in front of Jade Archive Xiaohua and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist, can you let me go out for a walk?" "Fellow Taoist, are you going out to look for trouble?" Jade Archive Xiaohua naturally knew that as long as he entered the space, green-robed Xiaohua would know what happened outside. He didn't explain and rebuked. Green-robed Xiaohua said with a smile, "Our nascent soul is really weak now. Recently, I have been thinking about how to make him healthy. Isn't there 5-colored heavenly thunder outside right now? Why don't we let our nascent soul bathe in the lightning water, so that it can wash his marrow?" When Jade Archive Xiaohua heard this, his face changed greatly and said in shock, "Fellow Taoist, are you crazy? Our nascent soul is weak. How can it see the lightning? Under this lightning punishment, won't it turn into ashes? Our 100 years of bitter cultivation have become water?" Fellow Taoist, you are too concerned and your mind is even more chaotic. Green-robed Xiao Hua said with a smile. Our nascent soul is fused with the inner cores of male and female lightning beasts. Although it can't directly control this heavenly thunder, it is not necessarily afraid of this thunder, right? In addition, don't forget that this five-colored heavenly thunder is somewhat different from the heavenly thunder that fellow Taoist normally controls. It contains the 5 qi of Confucian cultivators. This 5 qi is extremely beneficial to the 5 internal organs. If our nascent soul is nourished by this 5-colored heavenly thunder, it will definitely grow strong. That's right, fellow Taoist. Don't forget that our nascent soul is in the form of a nebula. Even if it can't withstand a blow from the 5-colored heavenly thunder, it can still disperse the power of the lightning tribulation between the nebula. This, green-robed Xiaohua said so much, Jade Archive Xiaohua naturally understood. However, this matter was of great importance. He really didn't dare to make a rash judgment. Let's go quickly. If we don't go now, it will be too late. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Green-robed Xiaohua urged. You don't need to pay attention to it. Just send eye into the nascent soul. All right. Xiaohua clenched his teeth. He knew that his nascent soul had just been born. If it was an ordinary tempering, it would take more than 1,000 years or even several thousand years of bitter cultivation to reach the large success stage of nascent soul. If green-robed Xiaohua's guess was correct, this was a shortcut in front of him. Of course, this shortcut was exchanged with the life of a nascent soul and the pain of the lightning tribulation. Let's go. Jade Archive Xiaohua knew that this was not the time for him to think too much. He brought green-robed Xiaohua and little Lei out of the space. In just a short moment, the second 5-colored heavenly thunder had already fallen. Xiaohua's back had already caved in a large area. Seeing that the third 5-colored heavenly thunder was about to fall, Xiaohua hurriedly sent little Lei out of his head and urged his nascent soul to come out from his lower dantian. Kachacha. The 5 qi righteous thunder precisely landed on Xiao Lei's body. The 5-colored thunder flashed and immediately fused into Xiao Lei's body. Only a very small part of it fell down, and this part was once again pulled into Xiao Lei's body by the nascent soul general standing on top of Xiao Hua's head. Boom! Under the 5-colored heavenly thunder, although it was only a small part, the nascent soul immediately began to collapse. Xiao Hua's mind was in incomparable pain. Even his lower dantian felt a tearing pain. Xiao Hua was shocked. He knew that the nascent soul and green-robed Xiao Hua were both injured. He hurriedly urged green-robed Xiao Hua to take back his nascent soul. However, green-robed Xiao Hua endured the pain and said, Fellow Taoist, don't be anxious. I will try again. Damn it, you don't want to live anymore. Xiao Hua was really anxious. He was about to forcibly take back his nascent soul into his dantian, but at this moment, the nascent soul's body flashed with a 5-colored brilliance. It waved its 2 small hands, and a silvery white crystal thread appeared out of thin air. It flashed and immediately entered the nascent soul's body. Then, the nascent soul sat cross-legged with its palms facing the sky and began to circulate its heart sutra. The collapsed soul slowly recovered. -12. Chapter 35:21. That's right. Don't I still have the metal essence new essence? How could I forget about it now? Xiaohua suddenly woke up and hurriedly waved his hand. The metal essence new essence he obtained from the sword catacomb array was immediately sent into his meridians. His body also activated the cultivation method to refine it. That rich gold attribute true essence fell into his lower dantian and transformed into thin crystal threads that rushed into his nascent soul from the void. This is Xiao Hua's demon pet. Lung Chinga saw this black monster land on top of Xiao Hua's head and help him block the 5 qi righteous thunder. He couldn't help but be shocked. He had never seen a demon that could resist the 5 qi righteous thunder. Lung Chinga couldn't help but shout. How can this demon pet resist the heavenly punishment thunder? Not to mention a demon pet, even a scholar, wouldn't dare to resist the 5 qi righteous thunder. Monarch, when he obtained this item, wasn't he already informed? Kill. While Long Chinga was secretly pondering, the distant west Bodhisattva roared. The fire on top of his head suddenly rushed up. Once West Bodhisattva moved, Long Chinga and the others had no choice but to move. This was the so-called pulling one hair, and one hair will affect the whole body. 5 rays of true energy rushed up the immortal beheading stage. Under the urging of these 5 rays of true energy, the 5 brocade cloud diagram's noble chi rushed into the immortal beheading stage. In the void, another 5-colored thunderbolt rushed out. Kachacha! Another bolt of 5 chi righteous thunder fell. This time, the lightning not only fell on Little Thunder's body, it also fell on the nascent soul's body. Pain, tearing, numbness, living a life worse than death. All kinds of feelings rushed into Xiao Hua's mind more violently than a storm. His entire body was trembling violently, and a lot of leaked lightning also landed on his body. Damn it, this is really retribution. This Grandpa's Foundation establishment and Gold Core both went through the lightning tribulation, but my nascent soul was in the void. The void doesn't give birth to lightning tribulation, but I didn't expect to come here and experience it again. Xiaohua really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He could only grit his teeth and endure. The 5 chi righteous thunders struck one after another, a total of 81 strikes. Not to mention Xiaohua, even the 5 Confucian cultivators on the 5 brocade cloud diagram, as well as countless other students after the 5 Confucian cultivators, couldn't take it. In the end, the 5 people's true chi ran out and the 5 children immediately collapsed. The immortal slaying stage also collapsed and turned back into 5 silk handkerchiefs. They quickly shrank and floated in front of the 5 powerless people. Haha. Xiaohua slightly straightened his back and shouted, "What's wrong? This Xiao still hasn't washed enough. I still haven't washed off the dirty water you Confucian cultivators poured on me. Why was there no more lightning water? Quick, quick, this Xiao still wants more." Indeed, Xiaohua's Yuanying seemed to have eaten a great tonic pill and grew a lot stronger. It was unknown how many years of bitter cultivation it was. Xiaohua, don't worry. I'll let you have your fill soon. Long Chinga sneered and disappeared into the cloud brocade. The other 4 also disappeared. This Xiao also knows how to sneer. Xiaohua also coldly snorted and said, "If you have any ability, take it out, eh?" The little guy finally woke up. Right at this moment, Lei Zizi, who had blocked the lightning for Xiaohua earlier, actually opened his eyes. He blinked his eyelids and stretched his body in satisfaction. He grinned at Xiaohua and flipped his body in midair, looking left and right as if he was looking for something. "It's good that you're awake." Xiaohua knew that Little Thunder was looking for lightning water. In his eyes, that thing was like the human race's milk. Xiaohua raised his hand and Little Thunder obediently fell into his hand. Xiaohua touched Little Thunder's forehead and Little Thunder unexpectedly rubbed its head against Xiaohua's hand like little silver and even raised its neck to lick it. "Go back and sleep a little more." Seeing that Little Thunder's eyes were still a little scattered, Xiaohua sent it into the space again. Sure enough, under the lightning water, Little Thunder fell asleep again. 5 Chi Thunder is really interesting. Could it be that this 5 Chi universe has other uses? Seeing that the 5 Chi Thunder could actually wake Little Thunder up, Xiaohua couldn't help but think more. However, he didn't have time to think too much. Green-robed Xiaohua's weak voice was heard. "Fellow Taoist, quickly send me back to rest. Those heavenly lightning almost killed I." "Hee, who told you to show off?" Xiaohua smiled as he sent green-robed Xiaohua back. He even sent his nascent soul into his lower dantian to recuperate. The nascent soul gained a lot from this lightning tribulation and still needed to digest it carefully. Xiaohua had just sent green-robed Xiaohua back when he saw that in the sky. The 5 people who had just hidden themselves had appeared again. However, the 5 people were no longer as arrogant as before and their faces were clearly pale. Seeing this, Xiaohua laughed brightly. "The 5 of you, don't you want to rest a little more after being tired for so long? This Xiao isn't in a hurry. What are you waiting for?" Xiaohua, don't be too proud," Lung Chinga said. "You have the Dao Sect's Imperial Lightning Technique and a demon pet that avoids lightning. Being able to dodge the 5 Chi Thunder is within our expectations. However, you can only be arrogant for a little while longer." Wait until my Confucian Five Sons Ascension appears. How can you still survive? Confucian Five Sons Ascension? Haha, Longqinga, let's not talk about ascension. Do you still have true qi in your body to fight with this Xiao? You're really not afraid of twisting your waist when you talk big. Xiao Hua laughed loudly. Who said that executing Confucian Five Sons Ascension requires the consumption of true qi? Longqinga proudly waved his hand, and a simple scroll appeared in his hand. Calligraphy scroll? Xiao Hua was stunned and immediately thought of the calligraphy scroll that was similar to the Dao sect's talisman spell. Not good. Xiao Hua immediately understood Longqinga's intention and secretly cursed in his heart. He had seen the power of the calligraphy scroll on Zhai Xinglu. The law written by the so-called legalist senior Han Cheng had left a deep impression on him. The law character could really be described as iron hook and silver stroke. Each stroke contained an extremely powerful sword qi. Not to mention the authentic work written by the senior Han Fizi that Fu Jiwen had mentioned. Once the authentic work was opened, it could directly kill more than 100 demon generals. If Longqinga had the authentic work of Han Fizi, with Xiao Hua's current situation, even if he wanted to escape, he wouldn't be able to, right? There was no other outcome other than death. After the shock, Xiao Hua calmed down again. He raised his right hand and held the wishful staff in his hand. His left hand also slightly raised, but after a few movements, he put it down again. The righteous qi of the Confucian cultivator was the nemesis of the demon world's demon flame. If he couldn't resist the power of the calligraphy scroll, he was afraid that the blood devil saber wouldn't be able to either. His cultivation in the demon world was still shallow and not enough to fully exert the power of the blood devil saber. Therefore, Xiao Hua's left hand pointed and the seal of turning the sea fell on top of his head. Its brilliance overflowed and the coiling dragon broke free from the seal of turning the sea. The whole dragon body turned into a few feet long and swam around the seal of turning the sea. The ferocious dragon head roared at the sky. Immortal friend, please make your move. Longqinga raised his hand and held the scroll in front of his chest. He smiled at Zibahong and the others. His smile was full of ease. It was obvious that he didn't believe that Xiao Hua could survive the attack of the Confucian Five Sons Ascension. When Zibahong heard this, he didn't hesitate to wave his hand, and the flashing flame hand grabbed an equally ancient scroll. Beigo Jiming was a bit hesitant. He glanced at Bai Ho and Yu Qin. Both of their eyes showed helplessness. They then reached into their small Qinkuan bags and took out their scrolls. Zhang Yuming narrowed his eyes and looked at the seal of turning the sea above Xiao Hua's head as well as the coiling dragon near the seal of turning the sea. He clenched his teeth and a few feet-long scroll flew to his chest. Seeing the 5 Confucian cultivators take out 5 scrolls at the same time, how could Xiao Hua not know the reason for the Confucian Five Sons Ascension? They were actually using 5 scrolls to attack him at the same time. This was synonymous with a gang fight. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hua looked up to the sky and laughed. Golden light flickered around his body as he used the Heavenly Laws embodiment technique. He grew to more than 200 feet, and the wishful staff in his hand also grew to several hundred feet. He looked at the 5 Confucian cultivators and said in a clear voice, "The methods of Confucian cultivators are really laughable. You people can't beat this Xiao, so you actually want to go back and ask for Senior's help. This ancient Confucian cultivator senior actually knows how to show kindness to the younger generation. Even after death, he still wants to leave behind his original work. Forget it. After beating up the young, I naturally have to bring out the old. This Xiao wants to see what a nest of old and young can do to this Xiao." Xiao Hua's words were very sinister. He even scolded the ancient Confucian who left behind the original work. However, Xiao Hua's words were the truth. Even if Bai Ho Yu Qin's face was a little red, there was nothing to refute. "Humph, brat. Give up your life." Longqinga unfolded the scroll in his hand. Kong. A huge sword cry came from the scroll. Shua. A sword light rushed out from the scroll at the same time. Rumble. Then, a burst of muffled thunder came from the void. Thousands of noble qi rushed into the sword light and a huge law character appeared above Xiao Hua's head. When this character appeared, Xiao Hua's body trembled. The 9-sword intents in his middle dantian that could no longer be considered flying swords could no longer be suppressed. Xiaohua opened his mouth. Woo-woo. 9 sword lights rushed out and released a strong sword cry in the air. Looking at this familiar law character, Xiaohua's mouth was filled with bitterness. Wasn't this the scroll that he saw in Zhaixing Lu that day? However, this scroll's sword chi seemed to be much weaker than before. He didn't know if Lung Qingge was controlling it wrongly or if Duanmu Qing had already used it after bidding for it that day. Its really enemies will not meet. Damn it, this Xiaohua had only seen this thing once in the auction. Who would have thought that in less than 100 days, this thing would be used on this Xiaohua's body? After Xiaohua felt helpless, he looked at the much weaker sword light and felt a little relieved. After all, this scroll's sword light was extremely strong that day, and he was definitely not its opponent. Now that this scroll had been used and he had advanced to the nascent soul stage, he might have a chance. However, before the law character could fall, boom, another loud sound came. Shi Buohong laughed sinisterly and opened the scroll in his hand. Similarly, an indescribably terrifying aura came out from the scroll. -12. Chapter 35-22. It was also a scroll that Xiaohua was familiar with. 2 bright and dark rays of light soared into the sky, stirring up the righteous qi in the formation. Above Xiaohua's head, a huge yin-yang fish was formed. Thousands of murderous qi, alternating between light and dark, and a solemn desire to annihilate everything passed through the sky and firmly enveloped Xiaohua's golden Buddha statue. Zhou Yuanhan. Yin-yang qi transformation. Xiaohua looked at the abnormal trembling void above his head. His heart was also extremely pounding. What virtue and ability did this Xiao have to actually be favored by the esoteric debate's authentic work? This bronze pillar country's monarch seems like he really wants to kill this Xiao. While Xiaohua was shocked, he subconsciously looked at Beigo Jinming and the other 2. Their document scrolls had yet to be opened, but Xiaohua already had a premonition that the 4 document scrolls he had seen at Zhaixing Lu would all be revealed today. He just didn't know what the last document scroll was. However, Xiaohua did not panic despite his shock. Wasn't this the effect he wanted? In a flash, the law character had already formed a sword net that could annihilate all things. Under the sword light, the void was completely torn apart. Countless righteous qi also came crashing down. At this level, all techniques and spells were void. Only absolute strength had a chance of survival. Not only that, the yin-yang fish also brazenly activated on the other side. It seemed like 2 completely opposite righteous qi were swirling within the yin-yang fish. This swirling was even more ruthless than the sword net. Xiaohua could almost see the intent of death from the 2 rays of light. This was only 2 scrolls. Immortal friend Beigo. Lung Qingge opened the scroll and very proudly looked at the huge law character descending from the sky. Seeing that Beigo Jinming and the others were still holding onto the scrolls and had not opened them, he frowned and transmitted his voice. Beigo Jinming smiled bitterly and hurriedly said, "State teacher, 2 scrolls should be enough. These scrolls will be used less every time they are used. The authentic works of ancient great scholars are really precious. This is not for you to consider. Hurry up and open them." Lung Qingge coldly replied, "The monarch has put in so much effort to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. He wants to establish the reputation of the #1 empire in the hidden immortal continent." Understood. Since Lung Qingge had already said so much, how could Beigo Jinming and the others dare to delay any further? Beigo Jinming shook the scroll in his hand, and a black light soared into the sky. With a similarly loud roar, thousands of green auras rushed out of the void. Surrounded by the light, a huge earth character rushed out of the scroll. As soon as the earth character appeared in the air, it immediately gave off a heavy feeling, which was heavier than any mountain. The noble qi that had previously surged into the law character and the yin-yang fish surged into the earth character. Ha ha ha, Senior Lu Qingzi of the farmer's clan is indeed a great scholar. Lung Qingge laughed loudly and said, "This earth character is really heavy. It can compare to many great scholars in an instant." Seeing Beigo Jinming open the scroll, Bai Hou Yuqin didn't dare to be careless. She flicked the scroll in her hand, and like a heavenly river pouring down, tens of millions of lights flashed and rushed towards Xiaohua. What was special was that when these lights appeared, a 10,000 zhang tall pillar of energy soared into the sky. The originally seamless 5 brocade cloud diagram immediately had a large gap in it. The power of the stars mixed with the aura of the stars was endless. Even the divine sense couldn't see the end of it. At this moment, the law and earth characters, the yin-yang fish, and the noble Qi River surrounded Xiaohua from all sides. Not to mention escaping, even Xiaohua's breathing was heavy. He then looked at Jiang Yuming, who had yet to make a move. He flew in front of everyone, waved his hand, and opened the scroll. Just as Xiaohua expected, the void shook violently, as if 10,000 horses were galloping. A 5-colored brilliance mixed with an indescribable aura of righteousness rushed out from the scroll. That 5-colored aura of righteousness rushed into the sky, and unexpectedly formed a several zhang large auspicious cloud, illuminating the entire great array. That 5-colored brilliance and the 5 colors of the 5 brocade cloud painting mutually reflected each other, and was extremely gentle. Boom! At the same time, endless starlight faintly sprinkled down from the gap in the formation created by the scroll, enveloping the auspicious cloud. This scroll was the Confucianism written by the great Confucian, Kong Liwen. It was also this Confucianism that created the auspicious cloud of the 5 Qis origin. When this auspicious cloud of the 5 Qis origin appeared, it instantly fell down and joined together with the 4 scrolls that were previously shot out. Not only did this auspicious cloud become increasingly faint, even the strange phenomena of the other 4 scrolls became exceptionally clear. It was as if 5 cultivators comparable to 5th grade origin energy were joining forces to attack Xiaohua. Seeing an unprecedented predicament, seeing an unprecedented attack, Xiaohua's blood boiled, and he threw caution to the wind. His eyes that were originally flickering with starlight gradually turned blood red. He shouted loudly, "Good! Then I'll let you all see this Xiao's methods. See if I don't empty out all of your treasures, then you won't show off this Xiao's methods." Xiaohua's body flashed with an intense golden light. The Confucian cultivator Xiaohua in his middle dantian urged the true qi in his body. 9 sword lights flickered in the air. First it was 9, then it was 18, then 32. Finally, it actually transformed into several hundred sword lights. These 100 sword lights emitted a thunderous rumbling sound, and rushed straight forward towards the law character that was like a sword net. Go! In the Niwen Palace, the Buddha Saraira waved the clear water bottle, and a pool of innate true water appeared in the air, roaring as it pounced towards the noble spirit river. Looking at the green-robed Xiaohua again, he had already been pulled out by Xiaohua. He forced the invisible Yuanying to escape from his lower dantian and landed on Xiaohua's shoulder. The magic treasure furnace was also released, and it emitted the same loud rumbling sound. It flashed with a brilliant brilliance and flew into the air. Not only that, the Yuanying also pointed its hand, and the ice mirror also flew out. 3 colors of misty brilliance soared into the sky. However, the difference was that the ice mirror's brilliance rushed straight towards the rapidly flickering yin-yang fish, while the magic treasure furnace spewed out 100 zhang long pillar of fire to attack the black earth character. Xiaohua himself was not idle. Inside the dragon veins, Xiaohua urged the dragon transformation secret art. The golden essence of gold turned into spiritual qi of heaven and earth and rushed into his dantian. At the same time, the heavenly infusion technique was also pushed to the limit. Unexpectedly, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was also produced in the void and directly poured into his body. Xiaohua urged the transcendence golden body and waved the wishful staff to attack the earth character. Seeing that it was about to collide with the 5 paths of ascension, Xiaohua actually sneered again. He opened his mouth, and a red and yellow spiritual fire turned into a layer of fire net and flew towards the auspicious cloud of the 5 paths of origin. Xiaohua wanted to use his own strength to resist the 5 paths of ascension. Seeing Xiaohua's endless means, Long Chinga's eyeballs almost fell out. What kind of Taoist cultivator is this? He is simply a cultivator with many treasures. He had never seen a Taoist cultivator before. No, not to mention a Taoist cultivator, even among Confucian cultivators, who could control so many imperial equipment. Moreover, seeing that each of Xiao Hua's magic treasures was so powerful, not to mention the innate true water that made Lung Qingge not dare to look at it, not to mention the hundreds of flying swords that were filled with righteous qi, not to mention the green and yellow spiritual fire that looked even more simple than the five-colored auspicious cloud. Just the golden body of Xiao Hua, waving the wishful staff, made Lung Qingge's heart tremble. Today, we must kill this child. Lung Qingge's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Today, either you die or I die. If we let this child escape today, the bronze pillar's state will be destroyed by his hands. Fellow immortals, Lung Qingge shouted, let us quickly prepare. If we do not win in one move, we must make the Son of Heaven angry and kill Xiao Hua. It can't be? Shi Buohong cried out in surprise. How could this bastard escape from the 5 paths of ascension? It's better to be safe than sorry. Before Lung Qingge's voice could be heard, the 5 brocade cloud painting shook violently. The brilliance was like a mountain collapsing and the earth splitting. The 5 people were unable to stand still in midair. The powerful impact completely tore the 5-colored cloud brocade and the 5 brocade cloud painting into a mess. The chaotic qi rushed in all directions, and the chaotic brilliance was everywhere. It was so dazzling that the 5 people could not even open their eyes. Rip! It seemed to be an extremely weak sound of the brocade tearing, but to the 5 people's ears, it was even more difficult to accept than a bolt from the blue. Lung Qingge and the others were unable to stabilize their bodies. They first looked at their hands, only to see that on the 5 scrolls, not only did the 5 characters of the great Confucian scholars completely lose their righteous qi, but the scrolls themselves also had countless small cracks. The scrolls turned into flying fragments in front of the 5 people's eyes, and these fragments were swept away by the fierce wind without a trace. How is this possible? Bai Hou Yuqin whispered, her small mouth wide open. Quickly, let us prepare. Lung Qingge hurriedly urged, not caring about the paper fragments that were blown away by the fierce wind. Shi Buohong indifferently said, I feel that there is no need. The entire 5 brocade cloud painting was almost destroyed. Can Xiao Hua survive? There. Over there. Bai Hou Yuqin's eyes flashed with a water-blue brilliance, looking towards a corner of the black wind ridge. The joy in her voice seemed to be more than surprise, but she saw a 90-foot-tall giant whose body was riddled with hundreds and thousands of holes. Even his head was split open. Still tenaciously flashing with a golden light, he somewhat staggered up from the ground and was currently struggling to rush up into the sky. Everyone almost didn't dare to believe their eyes. That was the full strength attack of 5 cultivators comparable to a 5th-grade essence energy cultivator. Those were the authentic writings of the great Confucian scholars. It was already difficult for them to face just one of them. How could this Tao sect cultivator in front of them be able to withstand the 5 sons ascending the throne that they had never used before? Impossible, impossible. Could it be that this Xiao Hua has the body of a fiend god? The flames in Shi Buohong's eyes were now dim without any light. His body's true qi, Xiao Hua, was very large. Although he had already reached the realm of refining qi back to spirit, after all, he still couldn't refine his spirit back to emptiness, so it was difficult for him to support such a large array that consumed true qi. -12.